Chapter 2566. When Su Fong saw the ancestral fiend escape, he didn't pursue him. If he wanted to suppress such a powerful top expert, he would have to use his strongest trump card and fuse the Chaos Origin, Sacred Mirror. Only then would he have a chance of suppressing him. Su Fong's target wasn't the ancestral fiend, so he naturally wouldn't waste his energy chasing after him. After witnessing the ancestral fiend's powerful strength, Shu Wanjin was also shocked. She said in shock, "Su Fong, you actually managed to subdue such a peerless expert. In the future, who in the myriad of worlds can stop you? The ancestral fiend only agreed to serve me for 10 million years. He isn't my slave." Su Fong was also overjoyed. The stronger the ancestral fiend was, the stronger his overall strength would be. Following that, he said, domineeringly, "Even without the ancestral fiend, who in the myriad of worlds can stop me if I join forces with Senior Sister? However, my ambition is no longer in this universe. Instead, I want to jump out of the shackles of the heaven and earth cage and head to a wider world. One day, I want to be like the heavenly venerable of creation and create a universe that belongs to me in the chaos beyond the heavens." Shu Wanjin was shocked by Su Fong's ambition. The greater your ambition, the greater your future achievements. It definitely won't be limited to this world in the future. Boom! The clone condensed his body once again. His aura was already extremely weak. The surrounding 3 blood suns had also become dim and looked like they were going to collapse at any time. The ancestral fiend laughed complacently. "Descendant, weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you being ravaged by me without any resistance? Ancestral fiend, don't be so arrogant. If I were here, I could turn you into ashes with just a thought." The clone let out a thunderous roar. Then he looked at Su Fong. "Su Fong, if I wasn't wary of Xian's Daozu, I would have killed you in the Two-World River. I didn't expect you to become so powerful now. If I don't suppress you now, you will definitely affect my plans in the future." His eyes flashed with a bloody glow, revealing ruthlessness and endless madness. He opened his mouth and sucked the 3 blood suns into his mouth. Then, the clone's body began to burn with evil, scorching blood flames. The shadow of a tomb appeared from the burning blood flames. Su Fong's eyes suddenly became serious. The incarnation is planning to make a final, crazy attack. During the War of the Two Realms, Su Fong had sensed that there was a tomb hidden inside each of the projections of the bloody suns, which contained an extremely evil and powerful will. When his incarnation was almost suppressed by the Golden Crow, he didn't release the tomb in the blood sun projection. Now he released it. It was obvious that he was going to do something crazy. The shadow of the tomb expanded rapidly like a monster that could devour the heaven and earth. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped ancestral Gragon, Su Fong, and Shu Wanjin and trapped them in an independent world of Tao. The world was filled with an astonishing amount of deathly aura and evil aura. 3 blood-red suns hung high in the sky, causing the entire world to be covered in blood. The death chi and evil chi clearly contained the high-level energy from beyond the heavens. Not only were they cold, but they were also extremely evil. Boom! Once they entered the world of the tomb, the evil will surged like a torrent. Ancestral Gragon's consciousness began to lose control, becoming manic and ruthless. The evil thoughts in his heart burned, and a big goblin's instinctive desire to kill spread rapidly in his primordial spirit consciousness. It wasn't just his consciousness that was affected. The interior of the tomb world was filled with the aura of death and ruthless energy. Furthermore, it was an aura that was of a higher level than the energy in this world. It contained the transcendent and powerful law of death, as well as the evil power that could devour all life. Ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit consciousness began to lose control. His dragon chi and life aura turned into astonishing flames that surged out of his body. They burned as his life force flowed away rapidly. The incarnation's final attack was to turn himself into a tomb. Even a transcendent expert like Ancestral Gragon would be suppressed and devoured if he was trapped in it. ancestral Dragon transformed into his original form and let out an earth-shattering roar. He waved his dragon claws and tore through the void. He swung his giant tail, causing the space to tremble. The entire space inside the tomb turned dark. However, the world of the tomb remained unmoved. Ancestral Dragon became even crazier. His dragon chi and life force flowed away even faster. Compared to Ancestral Dragon, Su Fong and Shu Wanjin's situation was much better. The two of them executed the power of 9 yin and 9 yang at the same time, forming a huge yin and yang whirlpool. It was like an eye of the heavenly Tao, shattering the death aura and ruthless aura that swept over. Their primordial spirits were also in a state of yin and yang fusion. That evil willpower couldn't shake them. Senior sister, why do I feel that the divine might that we execute after fusing the power of yin and yang has the ability to restrain the power of the evil god? Su Fong discovered some clues and transmitted his thoughts to Shu Wanjin. Shu Wanjin replied, Celestial Venerable used 9 suns and 9 underworlds to refine the chaos origin, sacred mirror. He also created the 9 yang 9 transformations and 9 yin 9 transformations. It's obvious that his goal is to deal with the evil god. The divine might that we execute together has the ability to restrain the power of the incarnation. There's nothing strange about it. She continued, however, we haven't cultivated our yang and yin meridians to perfection. Although the yin and yang divine might can restrain the incarnation's power, it's not enough to suppress it. That descending clone is determined to get rid of us. This time, we have no choice but to give it a try. We can only combine the 2 ancient mirrors into one. Once we combine the 2 ancient mirrors into one and unleash the divine might, we will lose the ability to fight again. I wonder what other evil divine abilities the incarnation has. Let's wait a little longer. In the Advent Divine Palace in the outside world, the Golden Crow incarnation saw an extremely shocking scene. He saw a huge blood-colored tomb floating in the air, forming an independent space-time. The tomb seemed to be made of blood. It constantly surged with a strange and evil power. It revealed a terrifying divine might that came from beyond the heavens. It seemed to be able to swallow the entire universe and bury it. Streaks of blood-red light came from the 7 blood sun, divine suns. They penetrated the spatial barrier of the Advent Divine Palace and landed on the tomb. It made the tomb even sturdier and its aura even more majestic and terrifying. He took a closer look. He realized that this huge blood-colored tomb was actually formed by countless small tombs connected together. The Golden Crow incarnation felt his scalp go numb. The Golden Crow incarnation also trembled when he saw this scene through the eyes of the incarnation. There was a black tombstone in front of the blood-colored tomb. Although it wasn't very tall, it gave people a feeling that it could shake the heavens. A line of blood-red divine text could be vaguely seen on the tombstone. Although it was not clear, one could still make out that it was Pan Song's tomb. When the Golden Crow incarnation saw these words, there was a loud bang in his head. His heart was in turmoil. Pan Song. Isn't that the name of the heavenly venerate of Genesis? What does it mean to build a tomb for the heavenly venerate of Genesis? The evil divine ability that the incarnation used to form this tomb came from the blood sun in the sky. Could it be that the heavenly venerate of Genesis was swallowed by the tomb like the ancestral dragon, Su Fong, and that black-clothed woman? Boom, boom, boom. 3 black tombstones condensed in front of the 3 small tombs in the blood-colored tomb. Blood surged on the tombstones and condensed into names. Ancestral Dragon's tomb, Su Fong's tomb, Shu Wanjin's tomb. The Golden Crow incarnation also understood. Every small tomb would swallow an expert. Once the names on the tombstones completely solidified, it meant that they would be swallowed by the tomb. Even that old loach was suppressed. Su Fong and that black-clothed woman will not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. If that incarnation comes to deal with me, how can I escape? No, That incarnation used such a shocking divine dragon ability. Even the ancestral dragon, who had recovered half of his strength, could be restrained. There must be some restrictions. He can't use it casually until the most critical moment. The golden crow speculated and calmed down. It opened its eyes and stared at the tomb. Inside the blood-colored tomb, the ancestral dragon became crazier. His aura became weaker and weaker. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin's yin-yang vortex was also being compressed by the evil death aura. At this moment, it was only 1,000 feet in size. The clone's cold, evil, and smug voice echoed in the world. It is your great honor to be able to force me to use my origin energy and use my final trump card to be buried in the Nine Suns Blood Tomb. Nine Yang Blood Tomb? Are you talking about the 7 blood suns in the sky? Su Fong suddenly asked. He tried to get more inside information from the incarnation. That's right. It's you now. It won't be long before the 9 suns appear. All life in this universe, including the supreme ruler of this universe, the one you call the Heavenly Venerate, will be swallowed by my 9 Yang Blood Tomb. Where is the Heavenly Venerate now? Why should I waste my breath on you? You have the protection of this supreme existence from beyond the heavens, so I won't kill you. When I shackle you and devour this universe, you will naturally know everything. As for the ancestral dragon and the woman beside you, they have also received the inheritance of the Heavenly Venerate. They will become nutrients for me to become stronger. The incarnation's voice was filled with killing intent. The evil devouring power in the tomb increased by more than 10 times. You're just a clone of the evil god. If I had fallen into such a situation before rescuing Senior Sister, I would have been captured as well. However, you want to suppress me, Su Fong. How can I let you do as you wish? Su Fong grabbed with his right hand, and the Yuan Yang mirror appeared in his hand. Shu Wanjin also took out the Yuan Yi mirror at the same time. The two sides of the origin sacred mirror sucked together and became a complete origin sacred mirror. The two of them performed hand seals at the same time. The power of the 9 suns and 9 yins surged out of their bodies and was absorbed by the combined origin sacred mirror. Chapter 2567. This was the first time the origin holy mirror unleashed its strongest power after being activated. The entire origin holy mirror turned into a red and black yin-yang vortex. They intertwined and spun around each other, forming a power that caused all things in the world, including all energy and laws, to return to their original chaotic state. It quickly spread in all directions. The power of the yin-yang transformation from the origin holy mirror was more than 10,000 times stronger than the power of Su Fong and Shu Wanjin's hand seals. In the world of the tomb, the extremely dense death chi and evil chi were like snow meeting the sun. Under the power of the yin-yang transformation released by the mirror, they quickly disappeared. The evil will that constantly attacked the primordial spirit also dissipated under the power of the origin holy mirror. Even the spatial barrier of the tomb world was shattering layer by layer. It collapsed with a loud bang, revealing huge cracks and holes. Old dragon, enter my internal world. Su Fong fused his pure yang power, yin-yang power, and primordial spirit into his voice as he shouted at the ancestral Graygon. The death chi of the evil god's descent had a shocking impact on the big goblin's consciousness. Even the ancestral Graygon, the #1 big goblin in the world, was not spared. At this moment, his consciousness was in a state of chaos and madness. After being shouted at by Su Fong, the ancestral Graygon finally recovered a bit of his consciousness. He quickly transformed into his human form. Su Fong used the power of the yin-yang world to suck the heavily injured ancestral Graygon into his internal world. Now, he had to use all his strength to deal with the clone. Su Fong did not have the time to care about the ancestral Graygon. However, although the ancestral Graygon's primordial spirit was affected by the evil will and his life force was greatly devoured, his injuries were not fatal. After all, he was the ancestral Graygon and had transcendent strength. His life force surpassed that of any other life form. He would not die so easily. As the space inside the tomb continued to shatter, the outside also began to collapse. The black tombstones that were condensed with Su Fong, Shu Wanjin, and the ancestral Gragon's names suddenly exploded into pieces. The huge tomb formed by the many small tombs also continued to collapse. Seeing such a shocking scene, the Golden Crow avatar was surprised and shocked. Even the avatar that descended into this world with such a powerful divine ability is unable to suppress the ancestral dragon. He thought that it was the ancestral Gragon attacking the space inside the tomb, causing the tomb to shatter. He didn't realize that all of this was the work of Su Fong and Shu Wanjin. The avatar that had descended into this world had turned itself into a blood-colored tomb. The destruction of the tomb meant that the avatar that had descended into this world had been severely injured. Once the tomb was completely devoured, it would mean that the avatar that had descended into this world had completely perished. The Chaos Origin Holy Mirror, what a heavenly sovereign. To think that the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror that he personally created could actually shatter my 9-yang blood tomb. I refuse to believe that 2 mere intermediate overgods would be able to change the heavens with just a single magical treasure. The descending avatar was ready to go all out. An evil aura of death soared into the sky, passing through the powerful enchantment of the descending godly palace and disappearing into nature. In an instant, at the highest point of the sky, the 7 blood suns suddenly erupted with a terrifying bloody light. Blood surged within the bloody halo. One could vaguely see that within each blood sun, there was a tomb that looked exactly the same as the 9-yang blood tomb that the descending avatar had transformed into. The bloody light released by the 7 blood suns dyed the entire sky red in the blink of an eye. The aura of death and death that filled the world suddenly became 10 times more intense. The divine sun that was surrounded by the 7 blood suns and evil suns was also completely dyed red. It turned into a blood sun that looked as if it had been soaked in blood. Rays of bloody light shot out from the 7 surrounding blood suns. They instantly traversed time and space, penetrated the enchantment of the descending godly palace, and landed on the blood tomb. Sizzle. The blood tomb that was on the verge of collapse received the power from the 7 blood suns. Blood surged wildly, and it rapidly stabilized. In a frenzy, the descending avatar actually drew power from the blood suns. He didn't hesitate to consume the origin energy of the descending avatar in order to suppress Su Fong. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin also spared no expense at this moment. The power of 9-yang and the power of 9-yin surged wildly into the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror. Rumble. As the power of yin and yang spiraled, not only was the power of the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror activated, but the power of the Heavenly Tao was also activated. It was not the ordinary power of the Heavenly Tao, but the most basic power of this universe, the power of yin and yang. At this moment, it was not only the battle between the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror and the descending avatar. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin used the complete Chaos Origin Holy Mirror to control the Heavenly Tao, causing this universe to clash with the 7 evil suns. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin activated the complete Chaos Origin Holy Mirror and stirred up the winds and clouds of heaven and earth. It felt as if the heavenly venerate of creation and the evil gods descending avatar were engaged in a battle to control the world. The sky was shaken, and all the dimensions of space and time were trembling violently. All life in heaven and earth, including those resurrected experts who went against the Heavenly Tao, trembled in the battle of the Heavenly Tao. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The heavenly curtain that the Mountain Guardian had personally created to isolate the myriad worlds first cracked and then collapsed with a loud bang. The Golden Crow, who was far away in the 2nd level, saw this scene with the help of its avatar. It was deeply shocked and terrified by the terrifying scene it saw. It was so arrogant before, thinking that it could dominate the myriad worlds and even replace the heavenly venerate just because it controlled the treasure refining pool and true yang evil vanquishing sword. Only now did it realize how laughable it was. Goddess Luo was in the second level of the descending divine palace. Naturally, the commotion in the deepest part of the descending divine palace could not escape her senses. What's happening? Could it be Su Fong? Goddess Luo could not help but worry for Su Fong. Whoosh! A figure walked out of the void. It was Goddess Luo's adoptive father, Patriarch Luo. Before Goddess Luo could speak, Patriarch Luo said Su Fong overestimated himself. He actually tried to use the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror to fight the evil god's descending avatar. This place is dangerous. Leave quickly. After saying that, he sucked Goddess Luo into his internal world from his palm. Then, he directly transcended this universe and entered the chaotic void beyond the heavens. In the silent collision, the blood tomb kept shattering, turning into a chaotic state of nothingness. Everything in the surroundings also returned to chaos. The space in the deepest part of the descending divine palace collapsed, and it kept spreading to the surroundings. The world fragments that came from beyond the heavens turned everything in the surroundings into nothingness. However, the huge green cauldron still floated there. The imprints on it appeared, forming a powerful protective divine aura. There was also the world origin force that came from beyond the heavens, constantly surging out of the cauldron. It made it so that no power in this universe could move it. 5 minutes later, Su Fong, I will wait for you at the celestial Worthy Mountain. The 9-sun blood tomb formed by the descending avatar could not withstand the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror's divine aura. The descending avatar let out a cry of unwillingness. As the blood tomb was destroyed, it completely disappeared from the world. In a natural world, the 7 blood suns in the sky returned to their original state. However, they looked dimmer than before. The deathly aura and evil aura that filled the natural world were clearly much fainter. This time, not only did they kill the descending avatar, even the 7 blood suns' power had expended a lot of its origin force in the clash with the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror's heavenly Tao. Inside the divine palace of Advent, the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror also quickly returned to its normal state. Everything around it gradually returned to normal. Su Fong and Shu Wan looked as if they were about to collapse. The two of them were on the verge of collapsing. It was as if a gust of wind could blow them away. Fortunately, Su Fong had expended the power of the 9 suns this time. The power of the Yin-Yang World Tree in the World Tree was almost completely depleted. Otherwise, they would have been completely at the mercy of others. They would not even be able to fly. The depletion was simply too shocking. The Chaos Origin Holy Mirror had almost sucked their 9 Yang and 9 Yin powers dry. Su Fong's Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth was on the verge of collapse. The Yang power in the Yang Meridian was like a dried-up river. If Su Fong doesn't die, there will be no place for me in this universe in the future. Right now, he is at his weakest. Kill him and take the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror. The Golden Crow Avatar, who was watching from afar, hesitated for a moment before making a decisive decision. He transformed into a golden crow in the form of flames and charged towards Su Fong with a monstrous flame divine aura. QL 11-inch golden crow? Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Sharp and cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The golden crow actually wanted to take advantage of the situation. It was truly despicable. Su Fong looked coldly at the golden crow avatar that was charging toward him. His slightly raised lips curled into a disdainful sneer. Seeing Su Fong's expression from afar, the golden crow avatar suddenly stopped. He began to hesitate again. Could it be that Su Fong still has some powerful moves? How could the golden crow not be afraid after witnessing the terrifying scene of Su Fong and Shu Wan activating the Chaos Origin Holy Mirror together? Su Fong's calm and composed appearance made the golden crow start to become suspicious again. Su Fong mocked. No wonder the ancestral Gragon called you a feathered beast. Since you want to take advantage of the situation, why are you so afraid? A beast will always be a beast. Su Fong, you are already an arrow at the end of its flight. That woman also doesn't have the strength to trust a chicken. How dare you insult me? You won't be able to escape death this time. With a whoosh, the golden crow set off a cloud of fire and swept towards Su Fong. Golden Crow, I'll let you go for wool and come home shorn this time. Even your original body in the treasure refining pool won't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed by me. Su Fong shouted domineeringly. A dark demonic light shot out from his eyes. The ancestral fiend blood plate was activated by Su Fong. It erupted with the power of the primordial spirit and surged toward the golden crow. Ancestral fiend blood plate? Even the ancestral fiend's original body can't do anything to me, let alone his ancestral fiend blood plate? The golden crow avatar said disdainfully. Unexpectedly, it exclaimed in the next moment. It wasn't just the ancestral fiend blood plate. Su Fong's second primordial spirit also used a primordial spirit ability. The soul-shattering thunderous roar combined with the power of the ancestral fiend blood plate to attack the flaming golden crow avatar. The golden crow's primordial spirit residing in the avatar was only a wisp of its primordial spirit consciousness. How could it resist the powerful primordial spirit attack of the ancestral fiend blood plate and the second primordial spirit? The primordial spirit of the golden crow avatar was instantly obliterated by Su Fong's primordial spirit attack. Only the flaming body formed from the essence of the treasure refining pool was left floating there like a dead object. Chapter 2568. With the help of the ancestor demon blood plate and second primordial spirit, Su Fong had killed one of the golden crow's clones by surprise, but he did not look relaxed at all. Why? It was easy to kill the golden crow's clones. Su Fong was not afraid of peak sovereigns, let alone a mere clone. However, once the golden crow's true body attacked, Su Fong would not be able to deal with it. Of course, the golden crow's true body could not leave the treasure refining pool, but its yang spirit could drive the true yang evil vanquishing sword to the deepest part of the descending palace. The only trump card Su Fong had the confidence to fight the golden crow was the complete origin sacred mirror. However, he and Shu Wanjin had both exhausted the power of 9 yang and 9 yin, so it was difficult for them to activate the origin sacred mirror. If the golden crow used the true yang evil vanquishing sword to attack, they could only wait for death. Whoosh! After the origin sacred mirror returned to its ancient mirror form, the surrounding aura that was transformed into chaotic qi by the yin-yang transformation was all absorbed by the origin sacred mirror. Then, the origin sacred mirror split into two. The origin yang mirror automatically flew back into Su Fong's body, while the origin yin mirror was taken back by Shu Wanjin. The origin yin mirror was absorbed by Su Fong into the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth. Suddenly, an astonishing amount of yang qi gushed out. It was not ordinary yang qi, but the pure origin yang qi unique to the ancient mirror. Su Fong was surprised and delighted. He hurriedly used the 9 yang transformation to absorb the origin yang qi into his yang meridian. His yang meridian, which was almost completely dried up, began to produce yang qi again. Shocked, Su Fong asked Shu Wanjin, "Senior sister, there's a large amount of origin yang qi gushing out from the origin sacred mirror. Is it the same for you?" Shu Wanjin was also surprised. "It's the same for me. There is a large amount of origin yang qi gushing out from the origin yin mirror to replenish my yin meridian. Does senior sister know the reason? It should be because you and I used the yin-yang transformation to activate the complete origin sacred mirror to destroy the evil god's clone's 9 yang blood tomb, turning it into chaotic qi that was absorbed by the ancient mirror. The ancient mirror then separates the high-grade chaos qi into pure yang qi and yin qi. I didn't think that the fusion of the primeval chaos sacred mirror would have such a function. In this way, we can join forces to activate the primeval chaos holy mirror, and we don't have to worry about the consumption of yang and yin energy. The yang and yin qi returned from the origin sacred mirror is not enough for us to recover to our peak state. There is still a recovery process. If we encounter a strong enemy, when Shu Wan said this, Su Fong's divine light suddenly changed. She looked into the distance with her perfect vision. Chi! A beam of golden sword chi shot out from the second level of the Advent Palace like a bolt of golden lightning. The sharp sword chi tore through layers of restriction formations and traveled thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. The golden light suddenly stopped, and the true Yang evil-slaying sword was revealed. The one controlling the true Yang evil-slaying sword was one of the sun spirits of the Golden Crow. Su Fong, you were able to kill this seed's clone, but could it be that you can resist the true Yang evil-punishing sword supreme Xian Bao? Today, I will completely settle the grudges with the sun god race. Not only will I take away your primordial chaos, sacred mirror, I will also strip you of all your power. The sun spirit of the Golden Crow burned with flames all over. It was like the incarnation of the divine sun. It was very domineering and arrogant. Shu once secretly sent a telepathic message to Su Fong. Su Fong, is that the legendary Golden Crow? It actually has such an amazing Dharma treasure that even surpasses the primordial chaos, sacred mirror. How should we deal with it? Su Fong replied, Senior sister, don't worry. This Golden Crow can't do anything to me. Then, he looked at the Golden Crow and sneered disdainfully. Now that the primordial chaos, sacred mirror has merged into one, even your clone can be easily killed. Meanwhile, your true body is shackled in the treasure refining pool. Right now, you can barely control the true Yang evil-slaying sword. You want to take advantage of the situation? Aren't you afraid that I will suppress your sun spirit and take the true Yang evil-slaying sword? The Golden Crow laughed wantonly. The primordial chaos, sacred mirror's combined power is indeed extraordinary. It can easily suppress me. However, the two of you are merely middle-ranked chief gods. Just now, you used the primordial chaos, sacred mirror to fight with my clone. You're already at the end of your rope. Do you think I will be afraid of you? Is that so? I'm afraid I will disappoint you. I still have to thank you for delivering the true Yang evil-slaying sword to me. I don't have to waste my energy to go to the treasure refining pool to look for you. Su Fong reached out and grabbed. The primordial chaos, sacred mirror's extreme Yang side appeared in his right hand. Shu Wanjin also grabbed the origin Yin mirror. Bang! The two mirrors suddenly flew out and merged together. The primordial chaos, sacred mirror became complete again. A terrifying power was brewing inside the mirror. Impossible! How can the two of you still have the strength to activate the primordial chaos, sacred mirror? At this moment, the Golden Crow sun spirit's ferocious aura instantly disappeared. It trembled in fear. It had witnessed the terrifying power of the primordial chaos, sacred mirror's combined power with its own eyes. How could it not be afraid? Damn it, Su Fong, just wait until I merge the true Yang evil-slaying sword. I will definitely kill you, take the primordial chaos, sacred mirror, and turn you into ashes. After the Golden Crow sun spirit said those words, it activated the true Yang evil-slaying sword and pierced through the air. In an instant, it disappeared without a trace. The speed at which it fled was several times faster than when it had arrived. Su Fong could not catch up to it. Puff! The primordial chaos, sacred mirror, suddenly split into two again. Shu Wanjin also staggered and was about to fall. Su Fong used the power of the yin-yang world to envelop her. Only then did she stabilize her body. Although they were replenished by the primordial chaos yang qi and primordial yin qi, Su Fong and Shu Wanjin did not have the strength to activate the primordial chaos sacred mirror again in such a short time. When the primordial chaos sacred mirror was combined, Su Fong and Shu Wanjin's 9 yang qi and 9 yin qi that they had just recovered were completely used up. Senior sister, you go to the Empyrean Star Plate to recover first. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin were different. Su Fong cultivated the world tree. In addition to the yang qi, he also cultivated the power of the yin-yang world. Shu Wanjin had been trapped in the Empyrean Star Plate for so many years. She only cultivated the 9 yin-9 transformations and did not cultivate the world fragment. Therefore, when her yin qi was used up, it meant that she was a powerless, ordinary person. Then, Su Fong released the Guanghan Emperor and the Zhu Clan Emperor and had them stand guard around him. Su Fong activated the 9 Yang transformations and merged it with the primordial chaos Yang Qi that was gushing out of the primordial chaos sacred mirror to recover his Yang meridian as soon as possible. The Golden Crow did not expect Su Fong to be bluffing. It was scared out of its wits. After the Sun God drove the true Yang evil slaying sword back to the treasure refining pool, the original body put away the Sun God and true Yang evil slaying sword and began to panic. What should I do? The combined power of the primordial chaos sacred mirror is endless. Even I am powerless under the power of the primordial chaos sacred mirror. It won't be long before Su Fong comes to the treasure refining pool. At that time, even with the treasure refining pool and true Yang evil slaying sword, it will be difficult to save my life. Thinking of Su Fong and Shu Wanjin working together to activate the primordial chaos sacred mirror's power, the cunning and arrogant Golden Crow also trembled with fear. I can't afford to offend them, but can't I just hide? I know when to yield and when to stand tall. This time, I will hide temporarily. One day, after thinking about it, the Golden Crow finally made a decisive decision and plunged into the flames of the treasure refining pool. Rumble. The flames in the treasure refining pool boiled, and the entire treasure refining pool was separated from the space. After circling around, the treasure refining pool turned into a huge fireball and rushed out of the Advent Palace. Soon, it disappeared without a trace. It turned out that the Golden Crow was sealed in the treasure refining pool by the Heavenly Sovereign. After many years, the Golden Crow merged with the treasure refining pool. Although it could not leave the treasure refining pool, it could drive the treasure refining pool out of the Advent Palace. However, doing so would consume a large amount of the Golden Crow's origin energy. If it had not been scared out of its wits by Su Fong, the Golden Crow would not have done so easily. How would Su Fong know that his bluff had scared the arrogant Golden Crow so much that it fled with the treasure refining pool? As Su Fong cultivated the 9 Yang changes to recover his Yang energy, he focused his attention on the fragment of the world. It was indeed a fragment of the world that came from beyond the heavens and was personally sealed by the Heavenly Sovereign. Not only was the fragment of the world not damaged in the slightest, it did not even move in the slightest. Others might not be able to take the fragment of the world from beyond the heavens, but I might be able to do it. Su Fong looked at the fragment of the world with a hearty glow in his eyes. In the periphery of the Advent Palace, Su Fong had inadvertently obtained a cauldron lid. Its aura was obviously of the same origin as the imprint on the fragment of the world. It was enough to prove that the cauldron lid was the key to collecting the fragment of the world. As long as he merged with the cauldron lid, he would be able to obtain the fragment of the world. What did it mean to possess a fragment of the world from beyond the heavens? Just thinking about the benefits that the fragment of the world would bring, Su Fong could not help but feel a surge of excitement. Of course, fusing with the cauldron lid magic treasure was definitely not an easy task. Even if he obtained this fragment of the world from beyond the heavens, it would not be easy to cultivate the fragment of the world. Back then, when Su Fong was in the small world, he had obtained a fragment of the world. He did not know how much time and methods he had used before he managed to fuse with it and cultivate it into the world tree. Hence, Su Fong began to fuse with the cauldron lid. In the end, Su Fong discovered that although it was not easy to fuse with the cauldron lid magic treasure, it was much easier than he had imagined. After pondering for a while, Su Fong understood the reason behind it. The cauldron lid magic treasure was a treasure used by the Heavenly Sovereign to seal the fragment of the world from beyond the heavens. Su Fong cultivated the 9 Yang changes, which was equivalent to being the successor of the Heavenly Sovereign. Hence, it was naturally much easier for him to fuse with the cauldron lid compared to others. QL11, just as he was fusing with the cauldron lid, there was a huge commotion from the fragment of the world. The giant cauldron spewed out a deep starlight. It was as if a star had flown out of the giant cauldron. Of course, it was not a star. Instead, it was a lotus gem. It emitted a starlight and the aura of the origin power from beyond the heavens. With this lotus gem, not only me, but the ancestral Gragon will also be able to recover very quickly. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. He sealed the lotus gem and then absorbed it into his inner world. He allowed the ancestral Gragon to absorb the essence of the origin power contained within it to recover. Brat, are you really planning to give such a precious gem to this ancestor? The ancestral Gragon was extremely shocked by Su Fong's actions. Su Fong said domineeringly, "It is merely the essence of the origin power released by the fragment of the world. It is nothing. You brat, you have convinced this ancestor. This ancestor also knows that you are doing this to buy people's hearts. However, this ancestor likes it. If you use the soul marrow nether milk to buy this ancestor might really be bought over by you." Chapter 2569. Ancestral Gragon, you underestimate me, Su Fong. I, Su Fong, have always been clear about gratitude and grudges. Because of me, you fought with your avatar and caused your primordial spirit to be seriously injured again. While I do not have much soul marrow nether milk left, I will not be stingy. Finishing, Su Fong took out the remaining dozen drops of soul marrow nether milk and the bottle that held the soul marrow nether milk to give to Ancestral Gragon. Ancestral Gragon was completely stunned and stammered. This, Su Fong laughed inside. I only have this much soul marrow nether milk left, but Huang Lingyao has a lot. Isn't what she has mine? Just a dozen drops of soul marrow nether milk is enough to make this old dragon shed tears of gratitude. In the future, will he not work for me? This is really worth it. When Su Fong completely absorbed the origin yang energy that came out of the origin sacred mirror, the majority of the yang energy in his yang meridian had recovered. At this time, Su Fong sent out yang energy to hasten Ancestral Gragon's recovery of life. Lotus Gem, soul marrow nether milk, and now yang energy. Ancestral Gragon was completely convinced. At this time, Ancestral Gragon felt that following Su Fong was not something he could not accept, but a good thing. In the chaotic void outside the heavens, Ancestor Luo stood with his hands behind his back. Goddess Luo stood next to him, protected by his presence, but also restrained. Ancestor Luo's gaze passed through the invisible barrier of the universe and the boundary of the descending divine palace. Everything that happened in the depths of the descending divine palace could not escape his extraordinary vision that surpassed the limits of the world. Through Ancestor Luo's presence, Goddess Luo could clearly see everything that happened in the descending divine palace. Upon seeing Su Fong being devoured by the Nanyang blood tomb and in a life-and-death situation, Goddess Luo begged the Patriarch Luo, "Foster father, Su Fong is currently in a life-and-death situation. Please save him." Ancestor Luo responded indifferently. Su Fong is arrogant. He thinks that with some strength, he can look down on everything, even me, foster father. It's good for him to suffer a little this time. Let's see if he dares to be arrogant in the future. Don't worry. He has the protection of Shixian Daozu. He won't die. Little did they know, Su Fong and Shu Wanjin worked together to activate the Origin's sacred mirror, shaking heaven and earth, destroying the Nanyang blood tomb, and killing the incarnation. Patriarch Luo was surprised and shocked beyond words. He was completely speechless, and his eyes were filled with fear and shock. Goddess Luo was in high spirits. Next, Su Fong and Shu Wan really ran out of energy, but the Golden Crow wielded the true Yang, evil, slaying sword to attack them. Once again, they fell into a critical situation. The Golden Crow wields the true Yang, evil, slaying sword. Even I have to be wary of it. I can't fight it head-on. Let's see how you deal with it this time. Patriarch Luo said gloomily. Celestial Maiden Luo said worriedly, I hope that Shixian Daozu can appear in time and help Su Fong resolve this danger. Patriarch Luo snorted and said, every time Patriarch Luo makes a move, the karma between him and Su Fong deepens. In the end, Celestial Maiden Luo realized the situation was not good and hurriedly asked, what will happen in the end? Patriarch Luo snorted, but did not speak. In the end, Su Fong scared the golden crow into fleeing. He even took the treasure refining pool and fled the divine palace of Advent. Seeing this, celestial maiden Luo could not help but laugh. Patriarch Luo felt his old face burning. He said angrily, "That golden crow is the most powerful big goblin in this world, but he is so cowardly, so hateful." A moment of silence. Celestial maiden Luo suddenly gathered her courage and asked, "Adoptive father, you saw with your own eyes how extraordinary Su Fong is. Right now, he has the ability to transcend this world. His future accomplishments will not be any less than yours. Between him and me, Su Fong is extraordinary, but no matter how extraordinary, can he fight against Dong Xianzhang's powerful faction? Besides, you should know that with your identity and mission, there will be a day when the two of you will become enemies. Between you and him, it can only be an ill-fated relationship. The deeper your fate intersects, the harder it will be to resolve it in the future. It will definitely be a dead end." Celestial maiden Luo's body trembled. Her face was pale, and her eyes were dead. Patriarch Luo was about to continue persuading her when his white brows suddenly furrowed. He looked at the distant chaotic void. A golden divine light cut through the cold and desolate chaotic void and appeared in front of Patriarch Luo and Celestial Maiden Luo in the blink of an eye. It quickly condensed into a golden figure. It was a young man who looked to be in his mid-20s, but his eyes were filled with endless vicissitudes. His divine body seemed to be made of gold. His skin was suffused with mysterious golden lightning patterns. Under his sharp brows, his eyes shone with a domineering golden luster. Patriarch Luo cupped his fists and said, "Lord Feng Han, why did you cross the chaos personally and come here?" The golden-robed young man scoffed indifferently. He looked high and mighty, exuding the aura of an overlord who had been in a high position for a long time. His aura was void. Even the terrifying chaotic void could not form any shackles on him. His ability was clearly a level higher than Patriarch Luo's, and his status was also much higher than Patriarch Luo's. He looked at Celestial Maiden Luo and said coldly, "If it wasn't for her, why would I come here personally?" Celestial Maiden Luo felt a terrifying pressure coming at her. Her primordial spirit was about to collapse. She trembled as she knelt down. "Uncle." This golden-robed young man was Celestial Maiden Luo's uncle. The golden-robed young man swept his gaze across Celestial Maiden Luo and said majestically, "How dare you? You've long been engaged to young Master Dong Xianzhong, but you didn't abide by the virtues of a wife and hooked up with other men, shaming young Master Dong Xianzhong?" Celestial Maiden Luo lowered her head and did not speak. Patriarch Luo explained, "Lord Feng Han, please listen to my explanation. This is purely a coincidence. You can't blame Celestial Maiden. Dong Xianzhong may be young, but he's a disciple of Dong Xiandaozu and has been bestowed with the surname Dong Xian. His future is limitless. Even the Feng family has to rely on him. Even I have to do my best to please him. How dare all of you let young Master Dong Xianzhong suffer a humiliation that no man can endure? You've ruined all of the Feng family's efforts." The golden-robed young man named Feng Han grew angrier as he spoke. Layers of golden thunder flashed around him. The terrifying sound of thunder rumbled, causing the surrounding chaotic void to tremble and collapse. Then, Feng Han looked at Celestial Maiden Luo. "The only thing we can do now is to suppress that ant-like man and send him a Dong Xian to be dealt with by young Master Dong Xianzhong. As for you, I'll hand you over to young Master Dong Xianzhong as a slave and servant to appease his anger." Patriarch Luo said, "Lord Feng Han, that person is not ordinary. Born in this universe, no matter how extraordinary he is, what can he do? He's still a frog at the bottom of the well. Humph! I like to see what kind of person this ant from this universe is that he dares to betray young Master Dong Xianzhong." Feng Han obviously did not know that Su Fong was under the protection of Shi Xiandaozu. However, this was normal. Dong Xinzheng had been humiliated so much that he would not reveal Su Fang's background to outsiders. He would only go to the Feng family to denounce them and vent his anger. He would not talk about anything else. Patriarch Luo looked like he was so scared that he did not even dare to breathe loudly. In fact, there was an extremely subtle smugness and mockery in his eyes. Then, Feng Han waved his hand and grabbed at Celestial Maiden Luo from afar. He actually grabbed a faint breath of life from Celestial Maiden Luo. After Feng Han formed a seal, the breath of life immediately turned into a lifelike silhouette from Su Fang. Celestial Maiden Luo was shocked as she shouted, "Uncle, I'm willing to follow you back to Dongxian and ask for forgiveness from young Master Dong Xinzheng. Please let Su Fang go." Shameless be *TCH. You're still speaking up for that aunt even now. A boundless divine aura surged out of Feng Han's body and shook Celestial Maiden Luo away, causing blood to trickle from the corner of her mouth. Even Patriarch Luo staggered. Feng Han sucked the silhouette of Su Fang's destiny into his palm and took a step forward, vanishing from the void beyond the heavens and earth. He tore apart the boundary of the universe and entered it. Celestial Maiden, don't worry about that child. Don't forget about Shi Xian Daozu. Humph, the Feng family has suffered a great loss this time. Let's see if they dare to treat you like this in the future. Patriarch Luo transmitted his thoughts to Celestial Maiden Luo and sucked her into the world in his body, returning to the universe. In the depths of the Palace of Advent. Success. Su Fang had finally merged with the cauldron lid and was barely able to control it with the help of the purple Qi Dharma spirit and the force of yin and yang. He was about to activate the cauldron lid to collect the world fragment from beyond the heavens. Suddenly, the ancestral Graygon's thunderous roar came from the world in his body. Su Fang, be careful. There's an expert from beyond the heavens coming for you. Su Fang's divine aura changed instantaneously. Even if it was the Patriarch Luo, the ancestral Graygon would not have reacted like this. Obviously, the expert from beyond the heavens was much more powerful than the Patriarch Luo. Before he could react, any reaction would be meaningless. A golden divine light flashed out from the void and condensed into a young man in golden robes. It was Celestial Maiden Luo's uncle, Feng Han. Boom! A divine aura gushed out in all directions. Su Fang felt as though there was a world formed by endless golden thunderbolts that was crushing down on him. The divine aura from the world of yin and yang surged out from Su Fang's body and instantly formed a defense. Almost at the same time, endless golden lightning engulfed Su Fang. The world defense and divine body defense were like paper collapsing upon contact. Su Fang was sent flying. Fortunately, Feng Han had no intention of killing Su Fang. In addition, Su Fang's defense had neutralized some of the attack's power. In addition, he had a perfected physical body, which meant that his divine body was covered in wounds from the golden lightning. His bones and flesh were shattered. He looked severely injured, but with Su Fang's recovery ability, he circulated his vitality, blood, and yang energy. In a few breaths, he recovered to his original state. Only his aura had become much weaker. "You are Su Fang?" Feng Han looked down at Su Fang indifferently. It was as though he was high up in the heavens, looking down on the ants on the ground. Chapter 2570. Who are you? In the face of such an expert, Su Fang felt helpless and powerless. He felt that he had become a weakling whose fate was at the mercy of others. Too strong. The power of the golden-robed youth was beyond the limits of Su Fang's endurance. A glance was enough to shock Su Fang's divine orifices and injure his nascent spirit. Su Fang estimated that the strength of this golden-robed youth was far beyond that of Patriarch Luo. He was at the same level as the giant who called himself Divine Lord Jinwu when he was in the outer world. A world fragment? The golden-robed youth's attention was immediately attracted by the cauldron-like world fragment. He forgot about Su Fang, and his golden eyes suddenly shone with golden light. The fragment of the world was a precious treasure that only real experts could possess. Although this extraterrestrial expert named Feng Han was extraordinary, he did not cultivate the fragment of the world. At this time, when he suddenly saw such a precious treasure, how could he not be jealous? I didn't expect that there would be a world fragment in Pan Song's world. It was not in vain for me to cross the chaos and come here from Dongxian. Feng Han's eyes flashed with undisguised greed and excitement as he reached out to grab the world fragment. Unexpectedly, the green cauldron shook and remained motionless. The golden-robed youth snorted and waved his hand to release a golden divine light that enveloped the green cauldron. Rumble. The world fragment rumbled and imprints appeared on it, blocking the golden-robed youth's mighty aura. However, it only lasted for a few breaths before the giant cauldron was finally sucked into the golden-robed youth's body. How dare you plunder my treasure so unscrupulously? You've gone too far. Su Feng's heart surged with anger and humiliation. However, what could he do? The ancestral Gragon's voice came from his body. Su Feng, this person's strength is astonishing. He is second only to celestial venerables. Even if you combine the Origin's sacred mirror, you are not qualified to fight with him. The only thing you could do now is endure. Endure? Su Feng gritted his teeth for a while before returning to normal. Facing a powerful existence second only to celestial venerables, he had no other choice but to endure. Feng Han unexpectedly obtained a precious treasure, and his mood became much more relaxed. His gaze towards Su Feng was no longer as cold and murderous as before. Was it you who tainted the innocence of the goddess and humiliated young Master Dongxianzheng? Dongxianzheng. Only then did Su Feng understand why the extraterrestrial experts had come. Without waiting for Su Feng to speak, Feng Han looked down on Su Feng and continued. A lowly existence like an ant has tainted the innocence of a goddess and humiliated young Master Dongxianzheng. This is a capital offense. Under the pressure of Feng Han, Su Feng trembled. Your Excellency, you are a big shot from the Jiuquan God realm. Why are you interfering in the affairs of us juniors? Then I'll let you die with a clear understanding. I'm from Dongxuan's Feng clan, and I'm the Holy Lady's uncle. The Holy Lady has been raised by the Feng clan since she was young, so she could be considered a member of the Feng clan. You have offended Dongxianzheng and implicated the Feng family. Otherwise, why would this reputed one waste time and effort to rush here from Dongxian? Su Feng was not surprised. You're the Holy Lady's uncle? Feng Han said indifferently. You're just a frog at the bottom of a well. Perhaps you're considered outstanding in this small universe, but how would you know what it's like beyond the heavens? What kind of person is young Master Dongxianzheng? How could he be humiliated by you? Su Feng finally understood the purpose of this extraterrestrial expert's visit. Obviously, this Feng clan expert from the Jiuquan God realm, Dongxian, wanted to use Holy Lady Luo as a bargaining chip to establish a relationship with Dongxianzheng. In the end, not only had Su Feng made Dongxianzheng a cuckold, he had also made the latter leave dejectedly. Naturally, there was no hope for the marriage between Holy Lady Luo and Dongxianzheng. This expert of the Feng clan flew into a rage out of humiliation and came to this universe to denounce them. The anger that Su Feng had just suppressed surged up uncontrollably. Since the Holy Lady is your family, why did you treat her like an object to trade with Dongxianzheng? Feng Han sneered. If it weren't for the Feng clan, the Holy Lady would have been killed by her enemy long ago. How could she have survived until now? The Feng clan has nurtured her into a genius. She sacrificed herself for the Feng clan. This is her fate. Besides, young Master Dongxianzheng is not only talented, his identity is also incomparably honorable. The Holy Lady becoming young Master Dongxianzheng's cultivation partner is an opportunity that other women can't even dream of. How could she be wronged? Then, a cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. You lowly ant, how dare you spoil the Feng clan's plan? How can this reputed one forgive you? This reputed one will suppress you and send you to Dongxian to appease young Master Dongxianzheng's anger. As for the Holy Lady, this be *TH, Let her become young Master Dong Xianzheng's servant, and let young Master Dong Xianzheng do whatever he wants with her. The chilling murderous intent made Su Fong feel like he had fallen into an ice cave. His entire body was frozen, and his Dao heart and were trembling as well. He lifted his head with difficulty and shouted with gritted teeth, "Didn't that useless Dong Xianzheng tell you the consequences of suppressing my Su Fong? Are you talking about Pan Song, whom low-level existences like you call a celestial lord? Do you think that this reputed one wouldn't dare to suppress you with his support? Even if he's safe and sound now, he wouldn't dare say a word when this reputed one suppresses you. Besides," as he spoke, Feng Han's tone changed. "This reputed one has wasted too much saliva on you. I only plan to shackle you and let young Master Dong Xinzheng do whatever he wants with you. But you've spoken rudely to this reputed one and young Master Dong Xinzheng. Don't blame this reputed one for being merciless." Before he finished speaking, a golden lightning surged out from Su Fong's surroundings, causing him to be unable to move at all. At this moment, Patriarch Luo brought Holy Lady Luo with him. Seeing this, Patriarch Luo's eyes flashed coldly. Holy Lady Luo exclaimed, "Uncle, please let Su Fong go." Feng Han ignored Holy Lady Luo and said coldly, "Aunt, I'll destroy your Dao path. This is the price you have to pay for your rudeness to me." A golden thunderbolt burrowed into Su Fong's body like an electric snake, heading toward the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace. Feng Han actually planned to destroy Su Fong's Heaven and Earth Dao Palace and completely cut off his Dao path. Su Fong, due to her concern, Goddess Luo let out a tragic cry and almost fainted in a moment of desperation. Little did she know that in the next second, boom, an ethereal yet incomparably powerful and vast aura erupted from Su Fong's body with a loud bang. The lightning serpent that had burrowed into Su Fong's Dao Palace of Heaven and Earth, as well as the golden lightning that surrounded Su Fong, were swept away by this aura. In an instant, they disappeared without a trace. When Feng Han sensed this aura, his expression changed. His dignified and domineering face immediately changed. The previous dignified and domineering aura disappeared and was replaced by shock and surprise. Feng Han looked at Su Fong, trembling. That is, at this moment, Patriarch Luo sent his essence spirit over. "Lord Feng Han, I said before that Su Fong is somewhat extraordinary. Who is that expert? He comes from Xixian and is also the strongest existence in Xixian. Xixian Daozu." Patriarch Luo's words confirmed Feng Han's guess. He stumbled, his legs trembling. He almost could not stand. He still did not understand. Xixian Daozu, the supreme existence that controls Xixian. How did he come to Pansong's Heaven and Earth universe? Patriarch Luo replied, "When Su Fong became a master god, his divine will transcended the restrictions of heaven and earth and traveled into the chaotic void. It should be then that he met Xixian Daozu and was valued by Daozu." Xixian Daozu. Thinking of this name, Feng Han's heart trembled. His Dao heart and were almost shattered. He did not expect this. He would never have thought that an ant born in this heaven and earth universe would have such amazing providence to be valued by Xixian Daozu. What kind of existence was Xixian Daozu? In Dongxian, the Feng family was considered an extraordinary family force that controlled a mystical world. However, in Xixian, the Daozu was like the heavenly Dao that all beings worshipped. In Jiuxuan's divine realm, Xixian Daozu controlled the divine realm of Xixian. What kind of existence was this? As for the Feng family, Xixian Daozu only needed a thought to destroy them 10 times over. To be valued by Xixian Daozu, how could Su Fong be an ant or a frog at the bottom of a well? No matter the reason, since Xixian Daozu had left a strand of consciousness in Su Fong's body and released his aura at the critical moment, it proved that he could not touch Su Fong. Touching him would mean death. At this moment, the way Feng Han looked at Su Fong no longer had a trace of arrogance. Instead, it was filled with fear and even fear. QL11, however, for him to apologize to Su Fong, Feng Han could not lower his head no matter what. Seeing that Xian Daozu did not do anything else after releasing his aura, Feng Han realized that it was only a warning and not to kill him. Only then did he sigh in relief and turn to leave. Su Feng spoke indifferently. You want to destroy my Dao path and steal my treasure. Are you going to leave just like that? If he was too weak, then he had to take advantage of the situation. This was the only way for minor people to protect themselves. At this time, if he did not use Xian Daozu's name to intimidate others, then Su Feng's position as the peerless ruler of the small and large worlds would be for nothing. This seed has offended you just now. Please forgive young Master Su Feng. The world fragment is yours. Feng Han's facial muscles twitched. Thunder seemed to roar inside his body. He was clearly furious to the extreme. Yet no matter how angry he was, no matter how unwilling he was, he still obediently took out the world fragment. It landed in front of Su Feng and floated motionlessly in the air. When Feng Han had appeared just now, how domineering and awe-inspiring had he been. But now, he had to lower his head. His face was ashen, but he had to grit his teeth and admit defeat. He even had a hand over the world fragment that he had obtained. Xian Daozu was not someone like him could provoke. No matter how good the treasure was, if he lost his life over it, or even brought the calamity of his clan, then it would not be worth it. Su Feng then said aggressively, Goddess Luo is Su Feng's woman. What do you have to say? This, Goddess and young Master Dongxian had a prior engagement. Chapter 2571. That so-called marriage agreement is only a deal you made with Dongxian Zheng to exchange for benefits for your family. How can it count as a deal you made with Dongxian Zheng? She's already my Dao partner now. This is an indisputable fact. You're afraid of Dongxian Zheng, but aren't you afraid of Xian Daozu? Su Feng sneered, his tone overbearing and mocking. In Feng Han's eyes, Su Feng was a frog in the well, a native. Now that he was being mocked, the fury in his heart burned again. However, he had to suppress his anger. Young Master Su Feng, no matter what, I'm still Goddess's elder. Her marriage agreement with Dongxian Zheng has long been set, yet you're forcefully separating them. You're too overbearing, too much of a bully. Overbearing, too much of a bully? Su Feng scoffed, looking down on Feng Han. You took my treasure and attempted to destroy my cultivation path, handing me over to Dongxian Zheng to humiliate. You didn't even spare Goddess. Why didn't you say you were too much of a bully then? I, Su Feng, have never been an overbearing person, but today's matter concerns my woman, so I must be overbearing for once. If you still attempt to use Goddess as a deal, Su Feng will definitely head to Dongxian one day and annihilate your Feng family. The sonorous sound was filled with an incomparable domineering aura and a sharp, killing intent. Ancestral Gragon spoke from Su Feng's inner world. Su Feng, it's foolish of you to offend an otherworldly expert for a woman. However, this ancestor likes your dominance. You should be like this if you're a man. Shu Wanjin, who was in the Yintian astrolabe, praised as well. Su Feng, I was right. A cultivator's life should be daring to love and hate. Otherwise, what's the point even if one is immortal? Goddess Luo's eyes were moist. She used to feel like there was a mountain pressing down on her, but now she felt extremely relaxed. Su Feng's not-so-tall figure was holding up the world for her. Patriarch Luo secretly transmitted his thoughts to Goddess Luo. Goddess, don't forget what I told you before. Goddess Luo felt as if she had been doused with ice water. Her body trembled and turned cold. After hesitating and struggling for a moment, Goddess Luo suddenly said, Uncle, I'd rather die than agree to the marriage agreement with Dongxian Zheng. I've decided not to return to the Feng clan. I'll leave this universe behind in the future. Please grant me my wish, Uncle. You, Feng Han's eyes flashed with golden lightning, and a terrifying divine power gushed out. However, it was soon restrained. If he was not afraid of Xian Daozu, Feng Han would have killed Su Feng and Goddess Luo long ago. Why would he have any misgivings? Su Feng revealed a look of joy. Little did they know then, Goddess Luo said something that stunned Su Feng. Su Feng, what happened between us is just a misunderstanding caused by coincidence. After today, we have nothing to do with each other. When we meet in the future, we will be strangers. I hope you will not bother me again. The smile on Su Fong's face froze. Goddess, with me here, no one will dare to force you. You don't have to worry about anything. Goddess Luo shook her head and said decisively, Su Fong, I've said it very clearly. Between you and me, we have nothing to do with each other. Feng Han was shocked and shocked. His gaze at Su Fong was filled with pleasure. Su Fong's heart sank. Why? He then looked at Patriarch Luo, his gaze becoming sharp. Was it you who erased Goddess's memories and tried to change her fate? In the past, I respected you as Goddess's elder, and you once saved me. Therefore, I did not pursue the matter of you erasing my memories and fate. But you're using the same trick again. Do you think I, Su Fong, cannot kill you? Goddess Luo shouted coldly. Su Fong, this matter has nothing to do with foster father. He did not erase my memories and fate. Foster father, let's go. Su Fong saw the coldness in Goddess Luo's eyes without any emotion. His heart seemed to be pierced by a sharp blade. He felt great pain. Goddess, why is this? Goddess Luo said coldly. There is no other reason. I told you long ago, you and I are people of two different worlds. Our fates should not have intersected. It is good to use this chance to end it. Su Fong stumbled, his face paling. His mind was in chaos. Shu Wanjin shouted from the overflowing sky star disk. Su Fong, there must be a reason. You must be calm now. Do not lose your mind. The ancestral Gragon snorted coldly. You human women are so fickle. Feng Han laughed and said, Young Master Su Fong, it is Goddess herself who is unwilling. It looks like it is your wishful thinking. Don't blame me. Goddess, you stay here for now. Uncle will come to take you back to Dongxian in a few years. Farewell. Wait. Su Fong called out to stop Feng Han. Feng Han said darkly, What? Does young master Su Fong want to keep me here? Or are you trying to force the heavenly daughter to become your Tao companion? Huff! Su Fong exhaled deeply, barely controlling himself as he stared at Feng Han. No matter what decision Goddess makes, I, Su Fong, have nothing to say. However, I have something to say first. If I find out that the Feng family dares to do anything harmful to Goddess in the future, I, Su Fong, swear that I will go to Dongxian and remove the Feng family from Dongxian completely. There was disdain in Feng Han's eyes. Su Fong said coldly, You may think that my words are arrogant and overconfident, but you have to know that I, Su Fong, have stepped on the heads of countless experts who had once humiliated me from this small world of the universe to stand at the pinnacle of the world today. It has only taken me about 300,000 years. Feng Han's gaze changed slightly. His gaze on Su Fong changed instantly. There was no longer a trace of contempt. It was not that such talent and fortune did not exist in Dongxian, but it was rare to see someone who had gone from a mortal to the pinnacle of a world of the universe in 300,000 years. Such a peerless genius would be highly valued in any force and would be nurtured with full effort. It was no wonder that Shi Xian's Daozu valued Su Fong. Su Fong then spoke in a domineering tone. Now that I am valued by Shi Xian's Daozu, can you predict my future achievements? Can you guarantee that I, Su Fong, won't become a peerless expert in the god realm of Jiushuan in the future? What kind of cause is sown now? What kind of effect will be reaped in the future? Let me give you a piece of advice. If the Feng family doesn't want to be annihilated, remember what I said today. Feng Han snorted. Are you done? If there's nothing else, I should be leaving. Su Fong then said slowly, Pass a message to Dongxian Zheng as well. In less than an era, I will go to Dongxian to challenge him. If my family soul is damaged in any way, I will kill his family one by one and make him pay 100 times the price. I will definitely pass on young Master Su Fong's message. Feng Han left his words and stepped into the void, vanishing without a trace. Patriarch Luo was about to leave with Goddess Luo when Su Fong suddenly spoke. Goddess, no matter what difficulties you have, I will find out sooner or later. If someone forces you, I will kill. If this is fate, I, Su Fong, will defy the heavens. Goddess Luo was shocked. Patriarch Luo raised his brows, a hint of fear in his deep eyes. Then, a ray of starlight rolled out from Su Fong's palm and floated to Goddess Luo. The starlight enveloped 2 lotus gems, condensed from the essence of the world's origin force that had been ejected from the cauldron all these years. Su Fong had obtained them. Goddess Luo cultivated the world in her body and the heavenly Tao core. These lotus gems that contained the world's origin force were suitable for her cultivation. Goddess Luo hesitated for a moment before absorbing the lotus gems into her body. Patriarch Luo then unleashed his divine aura, enveloping Goddess Luo and leaving. Just as both of them were about to disappear, Goddess Luo's will rang in Su Fong's mind. Su Fong, go to outer space as soon as possible. Be careful. Su Fong's brows were locked in a tight frown. Obviously, Goddess Luo had some unspeakable difficulties, which was why she had to leave him. She advised me to go to outer space in the end. This must be why she had to leave me. Be careful? Who did she ask me to be careful of? The descent of the evil god? Or someone else? Su Fong was puzzled. Looking at the place where Goddess Luo had disappeared, his heart suddenly became heavy. QL11 Ancestral Dragon said, Kid Su Fong, what are you waiting for? She's just a woman. With your current talent and strength, you can find a Tao companion who is 100 times stronger than that little girl, even if you go to outer space. Why are you still worried about not finding a woman? Su Fong shouted. Old Loach, shut up. Ancestral Dragon also knew that Su Fong was frustrated, so he didn't dare to talk to Su Fong anymore. Ha ha ha, Shu Wanjin's cold voice rang out. Su Fong, you should calm down and think carefully about why you are in so much pain, frustration, and depression. Recognize what is most important and rebaptize your Tao heart. Why? Su Fong began to settle down. The Tao is a path. Only those who can determine the direction can reach the end. Those who wander will never be able to determine the direction and will only get lost along the way. Those who have the heart of a brave will bravely advance. Su Fong repeated the battle for the great Tao scripture in his mind. He quickly put down everything. There was only calm and clarity left in his mind. He pushed aside the fog in his head. The reason I'm so angry and in pain is because I think I have the power to stand at the peak of the heavenly Tao. I can control everything, including my own fate. Yet after being bullied by Feng Han, I had to rely on Shi Xian Daozu to resolve the danger. Also, the departure of the goddess made me realize that I am still so weak at this time. I cannot control my own fate and cannot protect my loved ones. This has caused my Tao heart to be frustrated. Su Fong analyzed the situation and explained it to Shu Wanjin. Shu Wanjin said, Not bad. You did not lose your head from becoming strong and did not give up on yourself because of the setback. Su Fong looked at the sky. He seemed to see through the descending divine palace, through the walls of the heavenly Tao, and beyond the heavens. Senior sister is right. There's always someone better than you. The path of cultivation is incomparably difficult and endless. Once I've reached the peak of this mountain, there's still an even higher mountain waiting for me. If I want to go higher and further, I can only do it like I did before. I have to cut through all obstacles along the way and advance ferociously. I'll kill gods and devils if I meet gods. No matter what happens in the future, I, Su Fong, will control my own life. Chapter 2572. If I want to control my own destiny, I can only rely on my own strength. With my current strength, in this universe, other than the original body of the evil god that descended to the world, it is already difficult for anyone to be a match for me. Even the supreme expert of the Monarch clan, Di Hao, is no longer a supreme existence before me. However, compared to Feng Han, who came from beyond the heavens, I am still far behind. I am like an ant, and that evil god might be even more powerful than Feng Han. The descent of the evil god, Feng Han. Right now, I am as insignificant as an ant in front of all of you. However, there will be a day when I will step on all of your heads, just like how I stepped on the heads of those who once humiliated me. I will step on all of your heads and climb over all of the peaks. Su Fong clenched his fists, and his eyes flashed with determination. First, I will find a way to integrate the world fragment and quickly increase my strength. Then, I will go to the Dark Caste Palace to suppress the Golden Crow and obtain the true young evil vanquishing sword. After that, I will enter the celestial worthy mountain and find out the reason for the change in heaven and earth. After solving the problem of the change in heaven and earth, I will find out what difficulties the heavenly lady has and why she left me so resolutely. Then, I will go beyond the heavens and save my grandfather's soul. After pondering for a while, Su Fong sorted out his thoughts. Then, he stretched out his hand, and a cauldron lid-like treasure appeared in his palm. It was the treasure that could seal the world fragment. Ancestral Gragon, who was in Su Fong's inner world, saw this scene and said in a shocked voice, "Su Fong boy, how did you get the cauldron lid that can take away the world fragment?" "I just casually picked it up." "Casually picked it up?" Ancestral Gragon was annoyed. In the first level of the God of Advent Palace, Su Fong casually picked up the Beast Tamer token and made the old dragon, who had just escaped his slave. Now, he casually picked up the cauldron lid that could take away the world fragment. Why'd he have all the good luck? Su Fong activated the cauldron lid. Buzz! The cauldron lid rapidly enlarged and flew onto the world fragment. It tightly covered the mouth of the cauldron and made the lid and the body of the cauldron become one. Su Fong reached out his hand and grabbed. The world fragment moved with a loud rumble and was absorbed into his inner world. It was not an easy task to fuse with a world fragment that came from beyond the heavens. The only way was to spend a lot of time slowly refining it. However, it wasn't completely useless now. Before completely refining the world fragment, Su Fong could use the lotus gems that were constantly being nurtured by the world fragment to absorb the pure origin force of the outer profound world to cultivate. Every few hundred years, lotus gemstones would be produced from the world fragments. Su Fong estimated that he would only need 2 or 3 gemstones to help him achieve peak middle rank lord level and elevate to upper rank lord level. This was the power of the advanced extraterrestrial energy Su Fong was cultivating now. Except for the chaotic chi and the essence of the world in the heavenly star plate, the other energies in the universe could not help him much. However, the advanced extraterrestrial energy aura only required 2 or 3 gemstones that contained the origin force of the outer profound world to elevate him to the next level. During this trip to the Advent God's Palace, he had subdued the ancestral dragon, elevated to middle rank lord level, rescued his senior sister Shu Wanjin, unified the chaos holy mirror, obtained the heavenly star plate, the world fragment from beyond the heavens, and even killed the clone that had descended. It was a great harvest. Su Fong's personal ability and overall ability had improved tremendously. However, Goddess Luo's incident diluted the joy in Su Fong's heart. He recalled everything that had happened between him and Goddess Luo in his mind. Suddenly, Su Fong recalled something and asked the ancestral dragon, "Old dragon, do you know about the pregnant heavenly Tao core?" "The pregnant heavenly Tao core? You know about such a treasure too?" "The pregnant heavenly Tao core isn't simple. It said that the peerless powerhouses of the Joshuan God territory nurtured a Tao seed with their own universe. It's a supreme treasure that's specially used to nurture successors. It said that cultivators who cultivate the pregnant heavenly Tao core have limitless achievements in the future. They can even cultivate a universe of their own and reach the level of a supreme heavenly venerable. In that case, the pregnant heavenly Tao core should be extremely valuable. It's not just valuable. The pregnant heavenly Tao core is a heavenly venerable powerhouse who didn't hesitate to nurture a universe seed with their own universe's origin energy. Even the peerless geniuses of the mystic world and beyond the heavens scramble for such a treasure. Can you imagine how valuable it is?" There was a moment of silence. Su Fong continued asking, "Old dragon, you were by the heavenly venerable's side. You should know about the son of the heavenly venerable, who used to be the nether lord, right?" The ancestral dragon replied, "I know some things about him, but not much. I only know that he's arrogant and unruly. He even dared to defy a supreme heavenly venerable. Later on, he transcended this universe and went beyond the heavens." Su Fong's heart was filled with doubts. Back in the divine dungeon of law, Su Fong had rescued Mystery, who was shackled in the depths of the prison suppression codex. Mystery had condensed an energy seed with her own power and given it to Shu Wanjin. Meanwhile, he had given goddess Luo the pregnant heavenly Tao core. QL11 Shu Wanjin cultivated the 9 transformations and merged with the Yuan mirror. She could be considered to have received Mystery's inheritance indirectly. It was understandable that Mystery did not hesitate to consume her own origin energy to give her the energy seed. What puzzled Su Fong was why Mystery would be so generous and give such a precious treasure like the pregnant heavenly Tao core to goddess Luo without even frowning. There must be something fishy about it. Why did goddess Luo come to this universe from beyond the heavens? What was the mission she was talking about? Also, Ancestor Luo not only knew the Feng clan's powerhouse Feng Han, but he also knew Dong Xianzheng. However, he did not belong to any force. What was his background? Why did he cut off the fate and karma between Su Fong and goddess Luo? There must be a big secret hidden in goddess Luo. The mission she shouldered forced her to leave me. Sooner or later, I'll find out the truth. No one can control the fate of Su Fong's cultivation companion. A fierce aura surged in Su Fong's heart, temporarily suppressing the matter of goddess Luo in his heart. Su Fong left the deepest part of the Advent Palace. It was time to go to the Dark Casting Palace to suppress the Golden Crow and obtain the true Yang evil vanquishing sword and the treasure refining pool. As Su Fong and Shu Wanjin had activated the Origin Sacred Mirror and fought with the avatars, the depths of the Advent Divine Palace had turned into a wasteland. The remaining powerful enchantments and restrictions were all gone. The Advent Divine Palace had turned into a desolate space. Su Fong no longer had any scruples. He used his ability to transcend the heavens and earth to break free from the shackles and restrictions of the Advent Palace. Soon, he arrived at the second level of the Advent Palace. When he arrived at the Dark Casting Palace, Su Fong was completely dumbfounded. The Dark Casting Palace was originally located in the depths of a huge mountain. After a huge battle, the huge mountain collapsed, and there were floating rocks and fiery red lava everywhere. However, the Dark Casting Palace had disappeared. The treasure refining pool and the Golden Crow had also disappeared without a trace. Su Fong was shocked and stunned. Disappeared? That Golden Crow actually disappeared without a trace? Isn't it unable to leave the Advent Palace? Ancestral Graygon saw the scene outside through Su Fong's divine body and wasn't surprised. That feathered beast actually escaped. That Golden Crow is a peerless powerhouse comparable to a transcendent powerhouse. Furthermore, it controlled the treasure refining pool and the true Yang evil vanquishing sword. How could it escape without a word? You even killed the incarnation. That Golden Crow is as cunning and cowardly as a mouse. If it didn't escape, would it be waiting for you to suppress it? Even I didn't expect that Golden Crow to have such an ability to escape with the treasure refining pool. Su Fong was depressed. Such a powerhouse is actually so cowardly. It's really shameful. How could a Golden Crow run away just like that? Isn't it lacking the demeanor of a powerhouse? That feathered beast brought the treasure refining pool with it. It's impossible for it to leave this universe. Where else can it escape to? When I regain my peak strength, I'll find it even if it's in the depths of the heavens or the 9 underworlds. As for the true Yang evil vanquishing sword, I'm determined to obtain it. With the help of the Origin Sacred Mirror, I can sense every corner of this universe. Golden Crow can escape. Su Fong snorted coldly and didn't stay any longer. He quickly left the Advent Palace. Returning to nature, Su Fong released Shu Wanjin from the heavenly divination astrolabe and combined with the Origin Sacred Mirror. With the help of the Origin Sacred Mirror, Su Fong's sensing power instantly extended to the universe. At the same time, he coordinated with the life-shrinking technique to sense the Golden Crow's destiny. In a flash, Su Fong's sensing power swept across the small world, the great world, and the myriad worlds. A feeling of controlling the universe suddenly arose spontaneously. Su Fong saw the small world that was completely occupied by the resurrected cultivators, the big goblin, and the demon race. Calamities erupted again and again. The small world was the first to be unable to withstand the baptism of the calamities. At this time, it was completely destroyed and turned into a world of resurrected powerhouses. He also saw the Great World. The Great World situation was slightly better than the small world, but it wasn't much better. Only the Great World, where the Heaven Crossing sect was located, and the few immortal realms around it still had immortals alive. The other immortal realms had all turned into dead wastelands. The Great World would follow in the small world's footsteps sooner or later. Su Fong's sensing power swept across the myriad worlds and caught a glimpse of the scene that surprised and shocked him. The canopy of heaven that had separated the myriad worlds into two was now gone. However, once the sky curtain vanished, not only did the Tao Defiance Alliance not spread towards the god realms controlled by human cultivators, the Tao Defiance, devils, and evil forces from the Dark World had all vanished from most of the god realms that the Tao Defiance had once controlled. Only a few god realms remained where the Tao Defiance Alliance was active. Su Fong then sensed that the aura of death and violence that filled the world had become much fainter. He immediately understood the reason. Su Fong had killed the ancestral fiend's clone in the Advent Divine Palace, and even the power of the 7 blood sons had been weakened. The Tao Defiance Alliance had suffered a heavy blow, so it made sense that they'd begun to shrink their forces. It was a pleasant surprise that the battle in the Advent Divine Palace would affect the situation of the myriad worlds. He continued to sense for the Golden Crow's presence. After a few probing attempts, Su Fong didn't find the Golden Crow's aura of destiny, which didn't surprise him. Has the Golden Crow escaped from this part of the universe? Su Fong frowned. It's unlikely that the Golden Crow has escaped to outer space. The only possibility is... Chapter 2573. With the help of the Origin's sacred mirror, Su Fong's senses reached the highest point in the sky, and he looked at the divine sun that nourished all things. Boom! Su Fong's eyes reflected a blazing fireball. The flames boiled and burned inside, and they radiated a terrifying might that could incinerate heaven and earth. Buzz! 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 The faintly discernible aura in the divine sun caused the Tao of fate from the life shrinking technique to flicker rapidly in Su Fong's mind. In the end, it transformed into a burning golden crow. What a cunning golden crow. It actually hid inside the divine sun. No wonder I couldn't find you in all the worlds. He finally found the golden crow's whereabouts. However, Su Fong's eyes were burned by the light of the divine sun. His eyes had turned crimson red, and they had almost been destroyed. How terrifying was the divine sun. If it weren't for the fact that he cultivated the 9 yang 9 transformations and had the primordial yang mirror of the primordial yang mirror and directly tried to sense the divine sun, even a supreme existence like Di Hao of the Monarch clan would have his eyes incinerated. Shu Wanjin hurriedly used the power of 9 and the cold aura quickly merged with the divine sun energy that had seeped into Su Fong's eyes. Su Fong's burning eyes felt a wave of coldness, and then they gradually returned to normal. What a terrifying divine sun. With my current strength, even sensing the divine sun would cause me to be injured, let alone entering the divine sun to suppress the golden crow. This is troublesome. The golden crow is like a dragon returning to the sea in the divine sun, coupled with the treasure refining pool and the true yang evil vanquisher sword. How could it be so easy to suppress it? Su Fong's brows furrowed. He had no choice. He could only wait until he was strong enough to enter the divine sun, capture the golden crow, and take the true yang evil vanquisher sword. He clearly didn't have that strength now. Even if the ancestral Gragon recovered to his peak state, he was definitely not a match for the golden crow in the divine sun. That was the golden crow's territory. Oof. I'll let you live for a few more years. It won't be long before I kill my way into the divine sun and suppress you. Su Fong could only resentfully give up. What else could he do? I wonder where the leader of the Tao Defiance is hiding right now. I should simply find him and kill him to put an end to all future troubles. Due to the departure of goddess Luo, Su Fong was already filled with anger. Now that the golden crow had escaped, it was unknown when he would be able to obtain the true Yang evil vanquishing sword. This made Su Fong even angrier. Su Fong was filled with rage and had nowhere to vent it, so he actually intended to vent it on the leader of the Tao Defiance. This was also why Su Fong's strength had skyrocketed during this trip to the Advent Divine Palace, and his confidence had skyrocketed as well. He didn't even take the #1 expert of the Tao Defiance Alliance seriously. With the help of the Chaos Origin Sacred Mirror, Xiao Chun sensed the situation again. In a god realm, Su Fong sensed a few familiar auras, which shocked and astonished him. The divine world was not too far away from the Advent Celestial Palace. It was the ruins of a divine world. A very long time ago, a peak over-god had perished, and the world within his body had been left behind in the void of the myriad of worlds to form this divine world. The space-time within the divine world was completely desolate, and not much natural energy could be sensed. It was practically a wasteland, but there were very few cultivators living there. It was exactly in this wasteland that Su Fong sensed 3 extremely familiar auras: Bai Ling, Qingyu, and Luo. He hadn't expected that the 3 of them would actually leave the Yuan Tiangong and come to the wasteland of the divine world. However, the thing that surprised Su Fong the most wasn't the 3 of them, and it was another aura. It didn't come from a cultivator or the big goblin, and it came from a divine artifact, the Ian Chariot. Su Fong had encountered a great explosion of energy from a world fragment on the 2nd level of the Advent Divine Palace, and he had no choice but to activate the Ian Chariot to deal with the high-level energy. As a result, the Ian Chariot had been blasted flying. Su Fong thought that it had been destroyed by the blast or swept to a corner of the myriad of worlds, and it would be impossible to find it again. For this reason, Su Fong's heart ached for it. The Ian Chariot was the most powerful time treasure in this part of the universe, and it was also a divine artifact of creation. It was extremely important to Su Fong. Unexpectedly, he actually found the Ian Chariot in the wasteland of the divine world. I didn't expect that I would actually find the Ian Chariot. My treasure is still mine. Let's go and get the Ian Chariot back and meet Sister Bai and the others. Su Fong's originally gloomy mood suddenly became cheerful. Of course, it wasn't because he had found the Ian Chariot, but because he was about to meet Bai Ling, Qingyu, and Luo. Purple Hong Divine World. It got its name because of the peerless sovereign god, Master Zihong. Later on, when Master Zihong died, the spiritual energy in the Purple Hong Divine World declined day by day, and it quickly fell and finally became a wasteland. The once powerful and prosperous Purple Hong Divine World was left with only the descendants of Master Zihong. They built the Purple Hong Divine Sect on the last remaining spiritual vein and struggled at death's door until now. There were less than 1,000 people left. More than 2,000 years ago, the Purple Hong Divine Sect suddenly had a windfall. A peerless treasure fell from the sky and landed in the Purple Hong Divine Sect. The Purple Hong Divine Sect was naturally surprised and happy, thinking that it was time for the Purple Hong Divine Sect to rise again. Who knew? Once the news leaked out, the windfall immediately turned into a calamity. That treasure that had fallen from the sky had attracted countless experts. At this time, no less than 10,000 experts had gathered outside the mountain range where the Purple Hong Divine Sect was located. Some of them were peerless experts that could destroy the Purple Hong Divine Sect with a single attack. Fortunately, these experts came from different forces, and they were wary of each other. None of them took the initiative to attack the Purple Hong Divine Sect. Therefore, the Purple Hong Divine Sect was not destroyed yet, but it was not far from that time. Experts from different forces were eyeing the Purple Hong Divine Sect's treasure covetously, but none of them were willing to take the lead and become the target of public criticism. It was a stalemate. Suddenly, the Purple Hong Divine Sect's protective formation parted like waves, and a peak ninth heaven heavenly god old man flew out from the passage. The old man repeatedly bowed to the experts around him in a servile manner as he proclaimed loudly, "Everyone, I am the sect chief of the Violet Chaos Divine Sect. A rare treasure fell from the heavens to my Violet Chaos Divine Sect. But how could my Violet Chaos Divine Sect dare to possess such a rare treasure? I am willing to offer you the treasure, but I beg you to leave the purple Hong Divine world as soon as possible. Swish, swish, swish. Everyone's attention was focused on the old man. Although the old man was the sect master of the purple Hong Divine Sect, he was only a heavenly god. Under the gazes of so many experts, his divine orifices trembled, and his primordial spirit nearly shattered. His body trembled, and it was difficult for him to fly. Here you go. With all his strength, the old man waved his hand, and a Xian Guang appeared and flew out of the purple Hong Divine world. It was a four-wheeled chariot, and it exuded an ancient and profound aura of the Grand Tao of Time. It was none other than the Infinity Chariot. Fortune Divine Artifact. That's a Fortune Divine Artifact. Many experts from different star fields were knowledgeable, and they couldn't help but exclaim when they sensed the Infinity Chariot's aura. Fortune Divine Artifact. The crowd of over 10,000 people fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the Infinity Chariot, and a strange light flashed in their eyes. A peak Supreme Grade Divine Artifact was enough to drive these cultivators crazy, and they were willing to risk their lives for it. As for a Fortune Divine Artifact, it was something that only existed in legends. How could these people not be shocked when they saw it right in front of their eyes? That Fortune Divine Artifact is mine. A higher god roared as if he had gone mad, and he pounced on the Infinity Chariot. Whoever dares to compete with me, I swear to annihilate their entire family. A Tao Integration Realm Divine Sovereign unleashed the power of the heavenly Tao, and his divine aura enveloped the Infinity Chariot, and he pulled it toward him. Boom, boom, boom. All the cultivators were enraged, and they launched a fierce attack on the Tao Integration Realm Cultivator. Although the Tao Integration Realm Cultivator was powerful, his defenses were shattered under the attacks of the crowd, and he was soon reduced to ashes. A chaotic battle broke out outside the purple Hong Divine Sect, and the sky darkened. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, hundreds of cultivators were killed, and even the purple Hong Divine Sect was affected. The old man was killed, and the sect's barrier was broken. Most of the cultivators in the sect were also killed. I didn't expect it to be a Fortune Divine Artifact. My luck is truly heaven-defying. A burly man with a black face broke through the void, and his domineering aura swept out like a ferocious beast from ancient times. His aura swept out, and many cultivators were sent flying. The burly man with a black face was an upper lord-level sovereign. The burly man with a black face grabbed the Infinity Chariot, and a purple light flashed in his eyes. He glanced at the cultivators and said in a domineering voice, "I'm the Dark Owl Exalted, and I'm taking this treasure. Do you have any objections?" Under the burly man's divine aura, the cultivators trembled in fear. Who would dare to have any objections? Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Another dozen or so experts broke through the void, and they were all Lord-level peerless experts. Seeing the Dark Owl Exalted, the dozen or so Lord-level experts revealed a look of fear. It turned out that the Dark Owl Exalted was a peerless bandit. Although he wasn't as famous as the Golden Rainbow King, his strength and ruthlessness far surpassed the Golden Rainbow Kings. Since no one has any objections, this treasure will belong to me. The Dark Owl Exalted chuckled and was about to absorb the Infinity Chariot into his body. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the void. "You can't take this treasure." Then, three figures shuttled through the void. One of them was a young girl in white, and the other was a middle-aged man in a green robe. Both of them emitted a demonic aura. They were Big Goblin. The last one was a man in a red robe. He looked as if he was made of blood, and his body emitted a sharp, murderous aura. He was an Azura expert. A murderous light flashed in the Dark Owl Exalted's eyes. He glanced at the three figures and said in a chilly voice, "Do you have any objections?" The young girl in white said with a chuckle, "If you really want to take this treasure, it's up to you. But I'm afraid you don't have the guts to take it." The dark owl exulted, smiled domineeringly. In this universe, is there any treasure that I don't dare to take? I can come and go as I please, even in those powerful, godly clans. In this universe, except for the supreme emperors, who can do anything to me? The middle-aged man in a green robe said indifferently, "This treasure is called the Infinity Chariot. It's the supreme treasure of the Su Fong. How dare you take it?" The treasure of the Su Fong. Chapter 2574. Su Fong's Dharma Treasure. The cultivators exclaimed in astonishment. Then, a series of gasps could be heard. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear and reverence. The Black Owl High Holiness sensed the Infinity Chariot carefully and sensed the horrifying power of time contained in the Infinity Chariot. Then, he recalled the rumors about Su Fong and no longer had any doubts in his heart. Since it's Su Fong's Saint Son's Dharma Treasure, how could I dare to take it? You three must be the masters under Su Fong's Saint Son. Then, I'll give this supreme Dharma Treasure to you three. I'm as blind as a bat. I hope you won't take offense. The Black Owl High Holiness, a notorious bandit in the infinite worlds, cupped his fists and bowed to Bai Ling, Qing Yu, and Luo with a smile on his face. Then he unleashed a surge of godly might and sent the Infinity Chariot flying toward Bai Ling. After bowing to the three again, the Black Owl High Holiness turned around and fled into the void, disappearing without a trace. You said it's Su Fong's Dharma Treasure, so it's Su Fong's Dharma Treasure? Even if it's Su Fong's Dharma Treasure, so what? At this moment, this Dharma Treasure has no owner. Anyone can take it. Just as Bai Ling was about to put away the Infinity Chariot, a cold shout suddenly came from the sky. Then a godly power with a majestic aura that could restrain the Big Goblin, the Demon Clan, and all kinds of evil forces pushed Bai Ling, Qing Yu, and Law back. Then, the Infinity Chariot flew out of the boundary of the purple chaos godly realm. How dare you take Su Fong's Dharma Treasure? Bai Ling was furious. His figure flashed and drew a strange arc. Then he caught up with the Infinity Chariot in the blink of an eye and grabbed it from the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More than a dozen figures flashed out of the sky. They were all Lord-level masters. Among them, there was even a peak-level Lord-level master god. He unleashed his godly power and suppressed Bai Ling, Qing Yu, and Law. Sensing the aura of several experts, Law raised his eyebrows. Sanskrit? Previously, the Su Fong spared your Sanskrit for the sake of the Brahma monarch realm. Now that you dare to snatch the transcendent artifact of the Su Fong, aren't you afraid that the Su Fong will exterminate your Sanskrit clan? A yellow-browed old man from Sanskrit, who was also the strongest peak over god, roared furiously. Brahma monarch and Zhu monarch entered the Advent God Palace with Sovereign Tru Yang. At this moment, Sovereign Tru Yang's natal lamp has shattered. He's clearly dead. Moreover, Su Fong has entered the descending world divine palace. Our clan's supreme sovereign must have been killed by Su Fong. Sanskrit must avenge such a great enmity. So what if we snatch his magic weapon? Qing Yu shouted domineeringly. Since Su Fong can slay Sanskrit's Sovereign Tru Yang, why can't he exterminate your entire clan? An ordinary-looking old man sneered. Not long ago, there was a great commotion inside the Advent God Palace that shook the heavens and earth. Something big must have happened. The Infinity Chariot is such a precious treasure, yet it's been lost here. This means that even if Su Fong isn't dead, he's still severely injured. What's there to fear? You're courting death. Bai Ling, come back. Qing Yu's gaze turned fierce. Demonic fire surged out of his body, and then he opened his mouth and sucked Bai Ling into his stomach. The dozen or so overgods attacked Bai Ling, Qing Yu, and Law. The yellow-browed old man from Sanskrit took the opportunity to suck the Infinity Chariot into his body. Qing Yu used his Kuan transformation innate talent and transformed into a giant Kuanping. He actually clashed with the three lesser overgods without showing any signs of being defeated. Instead, he had the upper hand. Law was even more astonishing. He used the divine ability of the Azura god clan, and the burning flames of sin turned into a world that enveloped the six overgods. In the past few years, Qing Yu and Law have been cultivating in the Sanctum of Sages, enjoying the best cultivation resources in the universe. Although it wasn't a long time, cultivating in the Sanctum of Sages Hall of Spring and Autumn was equivalent to cultivating for hundreds of thousands of years. How could their strength not soar? This was especially true for Law. After fusing with the fruit of sin and cleansing himself of the karma of slaughter, the speed of his improvement was astonishing. Only Bai Ling, because she was originally an ordinary crane demon, compared to Qing Yu and Luo, her talent was mediocre. At this moment, she had already been left far behind by Qing Yu. The yellow-browed old man from Sanskrit and the ordinary-looking old man hadn't made a move yet. Otherwise, Qing Yu and Law wouldn't have been able to hold on until now. Since we've obtained the Infinity Chariot, we should leave quickly and head to the Advent God Palace, the yellow-browed old man from Sanskrit said. How can we let these minions of Su Fong get away so easily? The ordinary-looking over-god snorted coldly, and resentment surged from his eyes. For some reason, this person hated Su Fong so much. Chi. A beam of sword chi shot out from the old man's eyes, turning into a white sword light. It carried with it a vast and awe-inspiring righteousness as it pierced through Law's world of blood and flames. Not only did the sword light contain a terrifying power that almost reached the peak of the overgod realm, but it also had the power to restrain all evil. It shattered Law's world of blood and flames in an instant, and the flames of sin were incinerated by the sword light. Law's divine body was also injured by the sword light. Fortunately, it was only a ripple effect. The sword light severed his right arm, but the overwhelming righteousness in the sword light was constantly eroding Law's divine body, making it difficult for him to reform a new right arm. The sword light's remaining power was not yet exhausted, and it continued to attack Qing Yu. You dare to kill me? Aren't you afraid that Su Fong will skin you alive? Qing Yu was shocked and furious. His huge body quickly shrank, turning into an azure pung, and disappeared into the void. Do you think you can escape? The ordinary-looking old man smiled coldly. The sword light tore through the air and disappeared, pursuing Qing Yu. Azura, how dare you appear so openly in the world of cultivators? Die. The old man still did not let Law go. He was about to use his sword chi to kill Law. At this moment, with a swish, Qing Yu's original form actually shot through the air again. However, the sword light that had pursued him had completely vanished, and he seemed to be unscathed. You can actually nullify my sword chi? That's impossible. The old man was surprised. Soon after, his killing intent became apparent. Humph, since you dare to return, you're courting death. You're the one courting death. Su Fong's voice was like the voice of the heavens. It was filled with killing intent. As his voice echoed, there was a flash of light, and it quickly condensed into Su Fong's divine body. Su Fong, the ordinary-looking old man, and the yellow-browed old man of Sanskrit immediately changed. All the other cultivators watching the battle turned into ice sculptures in an instant. Law let out a hearty laugh. Su Fong, if you came any later, you'd have to collect our corpses. Qing Yu snorted. This brat always waits until the most critical moment to make a move. Only then can he show his power. Su Fong was speechless. He used his yang power to nullify the sword chi in Law's body, and at the same time, allowed Law's injuries to quickly recover. Looking at the yellow-browed old man of Sanskrit, Su Fong's eyes suddenly became fierce. You want to snatch my Su Fong's magic treasure? It seems that I, Su Fong, was too lenient. The yellow-browed old man trembled. He quickly took out the infinity wheel and sent it in front of Su Fong. He bowed and said, You thought that I would never be able to come out of the Advent Divine Palace, right? You said that Brahma monarch fell in the Advent Divine Palace and was killed by me? Where did you get this information? Su Fong put away the infinity wheel and stared at the yellow-browed old man. The yellow-browed old man hesitated, as if there was something he couldn't say. Forget it. You don't have to say anymore. Su Fong grabbed the yellow-browed old man in the air with his right hand. Blood essence surged in his palm, forming a blood whirlpool that released an astonishing devouring power. The divine power instantly shrouded the yellow-browed old man, forming a blue sky blood dome world. The blood dome in the sky surged, and the blood water below roared. Hiss! Hiss! The yellow-browed old man was shackled by Su Fong's blue sky blood dome world. His blood essence and blood vessels surged out crazily and were devoured by the divine power in Su Fong's palm. In the end, even his nascent spirit failed to escape. It was all devoured by Su Fong's divine power before being absorbed into Su Fong's body. After becoming a middle-rank lord, Su Fong's great perfection-level body had undergone another metamorphosis. When he used Blood Dome, he easily suppressed a peak lord-level powerhouse, devouring all of their blood chi, bloodline, and even primordial spirit. Su Fong was now so powerful that he could kill lords like he was slaughtering chickens. Apart from the ordinary-looking old man, the others were all terrified. They were extremely shocked by Su Fong's strength. None of them dared to flee. Even a peak lord powerhouse had been killed so easily, so where could the others flee to? Su Fong handed the yellow-browed old man's nascent spirit to his second nascent spirit to deal with. He searched his soul and stripped his memories. Su Fong looked at the ordinary-looking old man. "You dare to kill a friend of mine, Su Fong?" Under Su Fong's gaze, the old man immediately shivered as if he had been frozen. Fear flashed through his eyes. However, he was extremely unyielding. He raised his head and said, "The Ian chariot has been lost here and has become an ownerless object. Everyone can fight over it. I'm a righteous cultivator. I've killed the big goblin and the evil Azura to rid humanity of Scourge. What have I done wrong?" Su Fong chuckled. The old man continued righteously. "As the Yuan Tiangong's holy son, Su Fong, the survival of the universe is tied to you, yet you're so arrogant and despotic. You've killed Emperor Qi and Emperor Yi, and you've wiped out entire clans and killed people. Aren't you afraid of being condemned by the world for being so brutal and despotic? If you want to kill me, go ahead. I won't resist." Many cultivators who were watching from afar looked at Su Fong with awe, but there was also a hint of hostility in their eyes. "I, Su Fong, act according to my heart. Why would I care about what others think or say?" Su Fong said domineeringly. Then he sneered. "You're a traitor of the human race, yet you're speaking so eloquently about getting rid of Scourge for the human race. What a joke." Panic flashed through the old man's eyes, but his expression didn't change. "You want to kill me. I'm not as strong as you, so I won't resist. However, you slandered me. I'd rather die than fight you." Su Fong's eyes were frozen. "Emperor Haiyuan, you betrayed the human race in the War of the Two Realms and colluded with the Tao Defiance Alliance. You almost let the Tao Defiance Alliance break through the sky canopy, yet you're still openly appearing in the universe and talking nonsense in front of me. I'd like to see who gave you such courage. Emperor Haiyuan, he betrayed the human race in the War of the Two Realms and still dares to appear." All the cultivators were shocked and surprised. During the War of the Two Realms, Emperor Haiyuan had secretly let Demon Saint and an emperor from the Tao Defiance Alliance into the Sky Beacon God world. They had launched a sneak attack at the critical moment and almost killed Xiao Wanting. If Su Fong hadn't acted in time and turned the situation around, the sky canopy would have been gone. Once it was broken, the Tao Defiance Alliance would have marched straight in. Who knew how many god worlds would have been conquered by the Tao Defiance Alliance, and how many gods would have died? When the war ended, Emperor Haiyuan had taken the opportunity to escape, and his whereabouts were unknown. No one had expected this. Chapter 2575. As expected of Su Fong, even the supreme existences of the imperial people can't see through this emperor's forbidden technique of changing my appearance and aura without using their supreme divine abilities. But you actually recognize this emperor's true identity so easily. The old man's face wriggled and his aura changed greatly. Finally, he turned into an elegant middle-aged man. It was Emperor Haiyuan, Su Fong indifferently said, "Hao Yuan, it's your bad luck to have encountered me. Will you obediently surrender, or do you want me to suppress you and then perform a soul search on you?" Emperor Hao Yuan smiled lightly. "Su Fong, you can't kill this emperor." Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. "In this world, there's no one that I, Su Fong, can't kill and dare not kill." Emperor Hao Yuan took out a jade slip and flew it to Su Fong. Su Fong's eyes shot out flames and burned the jade slip to ashes. He said coldly, "No matter what you rely on, you're doomed to die today for trying to kill my friend. Die." The divine power of the world of yin and yang erupted and turned into a universe that was countless times condensed and enveloped Emperor Hao Yuan. Emperor Hao Yuan became anxious and shouted, "Su Fong, this emperor has now surrendered to the imperial people and become their slave. If you dare to kill me, you'll offend the supreme imperial people. The supreme existences of the imperial people will never let you go." Imperial people? Su Fong was not surprised. He didn't expect that the imperial people would take in this traitor of the human race. Were the imperial people not afraid of being cursed? No one can save you, not even the supreme existences of the imperial people. Su Fong's voice, filled with killing intent, resounded in the universe. "Su Fong, how dare you defy the supreme imperial people?" Emperor Hao Yuan shouted angrily and fearfully. Rumble. The power of the entire universe pressed down on Emperor Hao Yuan. At the same time, the ancestor fiend bloodplate also appeared above Emperor Hao Yuan. It burst out with primordial spirit godly aura, creating a powerful impact on Emperor Hao Yuan's divine aperture. Emperor Hao Yuan bitterly held on for about half an incense stick's worth of time before he was crushed by Su Fong's universe and the power of the ancestral devil bloodplate. His primordial spirit was sucked into the ancestral devil bloodplate. His corpse was not wasted either. The ancestral dragon unceremoniously sucked it into Su Fong's inner world and swallowed it whole, turning it into nutrients for the ancestral dragon's recovery. An Emperor Realm Master could help the ancestral dragon recover a lot. Saying to Su Fong, "Spare my life." The cultivators who followed Emperor Hao Yuan all knelt down and begged Su Fong for mercy. "Kill them all. Leave no one alive." Not only did these people snatch the Infinity Chariot, but they also attacked Qin Yu and Luo. How could Su Fong let them go? Su Fong released Emperor Guanghan from the prison suppressing codex. In front of him, those overgods were like a bunch of weak chickens. They were easily suppressed by Emperor Guanghan and then thrown into the Builder Tree's dimension by Su Fong. Heaven? But why? Dripping umbrella? "Brother Qin Yu, Luo, let's go." Su Fong took Qin Yu and Luo into his inner world and then teleported away. Su Fong had returned from the Advent Divine Palace. After Su Fong returned from Advent Divine Palace, news of him killing Emperor Vast and the Brahma clan powerhouses in the purple Great Divine World spread through the infinite worlds in the shortest time possible, even reaching Primordius Heavenly Palace. The myriad worlds were shocked again. Brahma Monarch died in the Advent Divine Palace. Emperor Xingyang and the others must have died as well. Now, Emperor Hao Yuan and Sanskrit are here. Why is Su Fong so bloodthirsty? I heard that Imperial Exalt Hao Yuan has been subdued by the supreme existences of the imperial clans, and he was about to be sent to the Tao Defiance Alliance to make up for his crimes. I never expected that Su Fong would actually openly look down upon the supreme existences of the imperial clans and directly kill Imperial Exalt Hao Yuan. Up to now, there are 7 or 8 Emperor Realm Masters who have died in Su Fong's hands. There are only 30 or so emperors in the human clan, but he killed 30 or 40% of them. It's too cruel. I still don't know what will happen after Su Fong enters the Celestial Worthy Mountain. He has already started to kill the experts of the human clan. If he can resolve the crisis of the world's upheaval in the Celestial Worthy Mountain, who can suppress him then? For a time, all kinds of rumors were flying around. Su Fong's actions made him the target of public criticism. If he wasn't the only one who could enter the Celestial Worthy Mountain, find out the truth of the world's upheaval, and resolve the crisis, the imperial people would have already attacked him. 3 months later, Su Fong returned to the Yuan Tiangong. All kinds of rumors immediately died down, for fear that some rumors would reach Su Fong's ears and bring about a fatal disaster. The Emperor Realm Masters of the Fire God, Zhu clan, followed Su Fong back to the Yuan Tiangong. Only then did the incident inside the Advent Divine Palace become public. Only then did people know that Emperor Xingyang was the puppet of the legendary Golden Crow. Brahma Monarch and another Emperor Realm Master had died in the hands of Emperor Xingyang. The Emperor Realm Masters of the Zhu clan didn't know much about Su Fong killing the clone of Emperor Xingyang, nor did they reveal anything. Although the misunderstanding was cleared up, people's impression of Su Fong's bloodthirsty nature didn't change much. They were only afraid of Su Fong's fierce reputation, so no one dared to talk about it anymore. The Saint Temple. After Su Fong searched Emperor Hao Yuan's soul, he received some surprising news. From Emperor Hao Yuan's memories, Su Fong learned that Emperor Hao Yuan had indeed joined the imperial people and was preparing to go to the Tao Defiance Alliance. However, it wasn't as the imperial people had said, that Emperor Hao Yuan sneaked into the Tao Defiance Alliance to atone for his crimes. Instead, it was to connect him with the Tao Defiance Alliance's leader. As for what kind of deal the imperial people had with the Tao Defiance Alliance's leader, Emperor Hao Yuan couldn't find it in his memories. Although Su Fong had vaguely guessed something, he didn't dare to be certain. From the memories of the yellow-browed old man from the Sanskrit, Su Fong learned that after the fall of the Brahma monarch, the imperial people took the opportunity to annex the Sanskrit forces. At this time, the Sanskrit had become a vassal of the imperial people. The rumor that Su Fong had killed the Brahma monarch in the Divine Palace of Advent came from the imperial people. The imperial people's intention couldn't be clearer. They wanted to spread the news of Su Fong's brutality and completely isolate Su Fong. We haven't even entered the exalted celestial mountain, but the imperial people are already preparing to kill us once we've outlived our usefulness. The imperial people are playing with fire. Su Fong sneered. The Emperor clan was spreading rumors at this time. Their goal was precisely to attack Su Fong's prestige. After entering the exalted celestial mountain, if they succeeded, it would still be difficult for Su Fong to wash away their cruel reputation and threaten the imperial people. If they failed, what awaited Su Fong would be the ruthless suppression of the imperial people. The other major forces and venerable sovereigns would also take the opportunity to hit them when they were down. Su Fong even speculated that the supreme existence of the imperial people had sent the traitor Hao Yuan to the Tao Defiant Alliance for no other reason than to use the Tao Defiant Alliance to kill him. As expected of the number one divine clan in the myriad of worlds, the imperial people are so proficient in politics that they want to use such a scheme to deal with me. The supreme expert of the imperial people, Di Hao, would never have thought that after saving Senior Marshal's sister, subduing the ancestral dragon, and obtaining the supreme fortune in the Divine Palace of Advent, I have the ability to suppress even a transcendent being, let alone a venerable sovereign. All politics and schemes are jokes in the face of absolute power. Imperial people, I don't care what kind of schemes you have, I'll destroy them with a punch. The imperial people better not do anything stupid. Otherwise, the number one divine clan in the myriad of worlds will have a new master. Su Fong was once the peerless overlord of the small world and the great world. At this moment, he had once again returned to Su Fong. Then, more news came in an unending stream. It turned out that the ancestral devil had fled the Divine Palace of Advent after the ancestral devil's clone was killed. He had led all the demons back to the world of darkness. The Tao Defiance Alliance's leader had also begun to shrink his forces and capture all the cultivators and big goblin in the divine realms that the Tao Defiance Alliance had previously controlled. No one knew what he was planning. The human cultivators took the opportunity to counterattack and occupy various divine realms. At this moment, most of the divine realms in the myriad of worlds had fallen into the control of the human cultivators. At least on the surface, the situation seemed to be under the complete control of the human race. Su Fong had originally planned to kill the Tao Defiance Alliance's leader and eliminate all future troubles. When he thought of the imperial people's scheme, Su Fong dispelled that thought. He would leave the Tao Defiance Alliance alive for now and make the imperial people and human cultivators feel threatened at all times. Perhaps this way, they wouldn't do something as stupid as abandoning the Bao after the birds had been killed. Su Fong's ambition had been set outside the heavens since a long time ago. So how could he be limited to this part of the universe? So, he didn't really want to destroy the imperial people. If that happened, the myriad of worlds would definitely fall into chaos, and that was absolutely not the outcome he wanted. Of course, if the imperial people were courting death, then Su Fong couldn't be blamed for it. Su Fong didn't want to expose his true strength too early, so he kept the matter of the ancestral dragon and Shu Wanjin under wraps. The ancestral devil had witnessed Shu Wanjin and Su Fong working together to activate the origin sacred mirror and display their formidable strength. He had already retreated to the world of darkness, so there was no need to worry that he would leak the news. Su Fong also arranged for Shu Yunkong and Shu Wanjin to meet. What happened to Shu Wanjin made Shu Yunkong feel guilty for the rest of his life. Now that he saw his daughter safe and sound, and had even become a peerless master god, he was naturally overjoyed and cried tears of joy. However, Shu Wanjin was neither cold nor warm towards Shu Yunkong. Clearly, Shu Wanjin hadn't let go of what happened back then. In addition, she cultivated the 9E9 transformations and had a cold temperament. At this moment, other than Su Fong, she kept everyone at arm's length. Shu Wanjin entered the hall of spring and autumn to cultivate and entered a state of seclusion. The ancestral dragon left Su Fong and went to wander the myriad of worlds. QL11 he had yet to fully recover, so the resources in Yuan Tiangong were useless to him. Furthermore, with his powerful strength, it was difficult for the Yuan Tiangong to contain him. What a joke! If he opened his mouth and inhaled, half the sky in Yuan Tiangong would probably collapse. If he was placed in Yuan Tiangong, it would be strange if he didn't cause a huge commotion. With the beast token, Su Fong wasn't afraid of the ancestral dragon causing any trouble. Su Fong spent 1,000 years with his father, Su Yaodian, and Xuanxin. Goddess Luo's departure and his grandfather's soul being taken to outer space made Su Fong value his family even more. 1,000 years later, Su Fong entered a state of seclusion to make the final preparations for entering the celestial Worthy Mountain. Activating the Infinity Wheel, Su Fong began to integrate the world essence in the Lotus Gem under the power of time. Right now, I've reached the peak of middle rank Lord level. With the help of the Lotus Gem, I should be able to elevate to middle rank Lord level easily. Su Fong took out the Lotus Gems nurtured by the world fragments. There were a total of 3. He placed the Lotus Gem in the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth to remove the seal. World force from outer space was released from the Lotus Gem. The World Tree and the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth formed by the 77 branches were like ferocious beasts, wildly absorbing the world essence. After the World Tree absorbed the world force, it began to shatter and reconstruct itself continuously. The power from outer space was like a marrow cleansing, causing the World Tree to undergo a metamorphosis. Not only did the world of yin and yang become more profound and perfect, but it also underwent a qualitative change, transforming into a higher level energy. This also meant that Su Fong's power was gradually breaking away from this part of the universe. Instead, it was transforming into the high-level energy of the Jiuquan God territory. He was getting closer and closer to truly transcending this part of the universe. The world of yin and yang surged out of the world tree, circulating in the 77 yang meridians with the power of the cycle of heaven and earth. Swish! A commotion came from Su Fong's body. Releasing his consciousness and looking at the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth, Su Fong couldn't stop grinning. Chapter 2576. Last time, I spent a Herculean effort to obtain Mei Shuiro's Plum Spirit Chi and finally formed a Yang Meridian. Compared to last time, the birth of the 78th Yang Meridian was simply too easy. The power from beyond the heavens is truly extraordinary. Just fusing with the lotus gem produced by the world fragment allowed me to successfully form a yang meridian. The world fragment is truly a treasure. If I can refine the entire world fragment, what kind of shocking changes will it bring me? The birth of another yang meridian before entering the exalted celestial mountain was truly timely. An additional yang meridian meant an increase in strength and cultivation speed. Of course, it was a great thing. Next, Su Fong gathered all the energy in his body and attacked the 78th yang meridian. After a series of attacks, the entire heavenly Tao palace was shaken. Finally, the Yang Qi Xian Guang exploded in the 78th yang meridian, causing a dazzling light to illuminate the heavenly Tao palace. When everything calmed down, the meridian turned into a jade-like yang meridian. Next, the yang meridian moved, causing the heavenly Tao palace to become a vast universe formed by the 78th yang meridian. Just like that, the 78th yang meridian was successfully born. After more than 10 years, the 78th yang meridian had settled down, and the yang qi that had been consumed had also recovered to its full state. When Su Fong used the 9 yang 9 transformations, he felt the 9 yang qi circulating in his body increase significantly. This was the overall benefit that the additional yang meridian brought to Su Fong. This also meant that Su Fong's cultivation speed had reached a new height. Although it was still not as shocking as before in the small and great worlds, it was much faster than before. Next, Su Fong continued to settle down in his cultivation state. All kinds of magic treasures were further integrated. This was especially true for the Empyrean astrolabe. This magic treasure was related to his future cultivation talent. Su Fong spent most of his energy on cultivating the Empyrean mysteries, using the Empyrean astrolabe to continuously deduce and comprehend. The 9 yang 9 transformations, the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, and other cultivation techniques were also constantly being consolidated and accumulated. With Xu Wanjin by his side, Su Fong could practice yin-yang dual cultivation with her at any time. In addition to the birth of a new yang meridian, Su Fong's cultivation speed could be said to be 1,000 miles a day. There was also a steady stream of news coming in from outside. The practitioners and Big Goblin under Su Fong's command had been completely integrated and formed a powerful force. Apart from the fact that their foundation was not deep enough, their overall strength was not inferior to those ancient Shun clans and sects. In addition, with the Soulless Assassin organization, it was very convenient for Su Fong to gather information now. He could mix in and out of Yuan Tiangong and even the entire myriad world. If there was any movement, he would be able to receive news. As the date for Su Fong to enter Tianzhuan Mountain gradually approached, some rumors about Su Fong spread throughout Yuan Tiangong. Although the human race had regained control of most of the God realm, this was only a temporary phenomenon. If they did not solve the root cause of the world's abnormalities, the calamity would come again at any time. Everyone was deeply worried. The 8th blood sun will rise at any time, and once again the world's abnormalities will erupt. At that time, not only will the Defiance make a comeback, but the heavenly Tao will also be tainted by the blood sun. The human cultivators will no longer have a foothold. All hope is on Su Fong. If Su Fong fails to enter Tianzhuan Mountain like Di Yuan last time, the consequences will be unimaginable. The Yuan Tiangong has given Su Fong the best resources and has repeatedly allowed him to do whatever he wants. Even venerable sovereigns were wantonly slaughtered by him. If he fails this time, how can he face the people of the myriad world? If he fails to enter Tianzhuan Mountain, he will die anyway. In that case, Su Fong will die in front of me. It was related to the future and survival of the myriad world. Many people had lost their minds. They hoped that Su Fong could turn the situation around like he did in the War of the Two Realms. However, they were also worried that Su Fong would fail and the myriad world would fall into a state of eternal damnation. As a result, Su Fong became the focus of countless people. If he succeeded in entering Tianzhuan Mountain this time, everyone would be happy. However, if he failed, Su Fong would probably become a sinner of the myriad world. Since when did entering Tianzhuan Mountain and finding the truth of the world's abnormalities become my responsibility. Moreover, my purpose of entering Tianzun Mountain is to find the truth, not to stop the world's abnormalities from continuing. But now, they are pushing all the responsibility onto me. If the imperial people did not add fuel to the fire, how could this be possible? The imperial people are creating momentum. If I succeed in entering Tianzun Mountain, it will be a matter of course. However, if I fail, I will become a sinner of the myriad world. What awaits me will be the merciless suppression of the imperial people. The imperial people are really calculating well. Su Fong saw through the imperial people's intentions at a glance and sneered disdainfully. At this time, he had the powerful strength to crush everything. Why would he be afraid of these schemes? Too lazy to pay attention to the rumors outside, Su Fong continued to settle down and cultivate. On this day, Di Xuan came to visit. Di Xuan came with the decree of Di Hao, the strongest of the imperial people. Su Fong had no choice but to meet him. As soon as he saw Su Fong, Di Xuan immediately felt an invisible pressure wash over him. He felt as if he was facing a part of the universe. It was vast, deep, and exuded supreme dominance and endless majesty. Di Xuan had never felt such a feeling when facing the supreme existence of the imperial people. He had only experienced such a terrifying feeling when he met the mountain guardian by chance in the past. Could it be that Su Fong has already attained the supreme ability of a transcendent? Di Xuan's heart was in turmoil. At the same time, he was puzzled. Su Fong is only a middle-rank lord now. Before the Great War of the Two Realms, he had only just elevated to become a lord. He's become a middle-rank lord so quickly, and he's even reached the peak. This discovery shocked Di Xuan once again. His attitude towards Su Fong was no longer as calm and casual as before. At the same time, Di Xuan was also secretly worried about the imperial people's future. Naturally, Di Xuan was well aware of the imperial people's various actions against Su Fong. However, there was nothing he could do to change anything. In order to maintain their supreme power of dominating all the realms, the imperial people would never allow Su Fong to rise. However, Su Fong's heaven-defying rise had already begun, and no one could stop it. The conflict between the imperial people and Su Fong would certainly erupt in full force after the trip to the celestial worthy mountain. Di Xuan handed a jade slip to Su Fong, then left in embarrassment. It was not an ordinary jade slip. Instead, it recorded many secrets within the celestial worthy mountain. Even the ancient Protoss had difficulty knowing them. Su Fong deciphered all the contents of the jade slip. His brows gradually furrowed. I thought that entering the celestial worthy mountain would mean entering directly with the origin holy mirror and trying to find some clues about the changes in heaven and earth. Who knew? Things weren't as simple as I imagined. Even if I have the origin holy mirror, I still have to go through many tests before I can enter the celestial worthy mountain. Moreover, the celestial worthy mountain is incomparably vast. Even transcendence would be shackled and restricted. After the changes in heaven and earth, who knows what it has become? Moreover, it's not as simple as just entering the celestial worthy mountain. There will always be a way when the time comes. With my current strength, entering the celestial worthy mountain with senior sister, even if we encounter any dangers, we will be able to avert them. What I need to do now is to improve my strength as soon as possible before entering the celestial worthy mountain. No longer worried or conflicted, he continued to cultivate. He cultivated in the sanctum of sages for 1,000 years. If the time spent in the eternity chariot and the hall of spring and autumn were included, Su Fong had cultivated in seclusion for more than 100,000 years. On this day, a divine light flashed out of the sanctum of sages and immediately pierced through the air. It directly passed through the barrier, separating the Yuan Tiangong from the world, and arrived in the midst of nature. As soon as Su Fong's figure appeared, he cast his transcendental vision into the distance. Finally, he found an uninhabited physical ruin and stepped out. When he appeared, he was already above the physical ruin. He set up a formation and sat down cross-legged. A flame quickly burned on his body. That was the tribulation fire. Chi, 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 chi. The flames were truly astonishing. The physical ruin within 100,000 miles was affected by the flames. If not for the formation that Su Fong had set up in advance, the entire physical ruin and even the void would have melted. Every time he advanced, he would bring great pain. However, it was only through pain that he would undergo a transformation. Su Fong endured the immense pain with a smile on his face. Nearly a month later, the astonishing power of advancement began to surge throughout his body. An upper-rank lord, Su Fong had successfully broken through another level and advanced to become an upper-rank lord. Su Fong was overjoyed. After waiting for 3 years, the power of advancement gradually calmed down in his body. Advancing to an upper-rank lord brought about astonishing changes to Su Fong. Su Fong released his sensory abilities. His vision and hearing had undergone a transformation. Now, even without the help of the Origin Sacred Mirror, he could see through most regions of the universe. Moreover, he could see through the heavenly Tao of this part of the universe. His sun's spirit had become several times stronger, and his divine orifice had become even more vast. Dense heavenly marks intertwined, forming a powerful divine orifice defense, which made it even sturdier and harder to shake. Even his primordial spirit's power of primordial spirit had become more powerful as his true body advanced. Then, Su Fong unleashed his divine power, a powerful divine power that transcended all restraints of heaven and earth permeated the surroundings. Su Fong's figure flickered, and he left this part of the universe. In an instant, he arrived in the chaos beyond the heavens. Su Fong could clearly sense that the shackles of the chaos beyond the heavens on him had become much weaker. It was not that the shackles had weakened. Instead, he had become more powerful. In particular, he had fused with the origin power essence from the world beyond the heavens. His yin-yang world power had become more advanced, allowing him to gain a certain level of ability to adapt to the chaos beyond the heavens. Of course, Su Fong was still far from being able to traverse the chaos beyond the heavens like Feng Han from Dongxuan's Feng Clan. Now, I can finally be considered to be standing at the pinnacle of all worlds. Chapter 2577. In the following time, Su Fong began to use the Lotus Star Gem to stabilize his upper-rank Lord-level condition. At the same time, he began to attempt to integrate the world fragment from beyond the heavens. Not long after, Su Fong discovered something that made him feel helpless. The time-stop ability of the Infinity Car and the time acceleration ability of the River of Time in the Palace of Spring and Autumn were no longer so obvious on him. Why was that? Soon, Su Fong found a reason. It was because he was too powerful. The power of time had lost its effect on him. His elevation to upper-rank Lord level brought him closer to complete transcendence from this universe. The world in his body was also closer to becoming a complete universe. This made it difficult for the time in this universe to accelerate or reverse time on him. Transcendence meant transcending all restraints and shackles, including fate, space, energy, and of course time. This was also a side effect of Su Fong's elevation in strength. Integrating the world fragment was not that easy. After all, it was a world fragment from beyond the heavens. It was too sturdy. No matter how extraordinary Su Fong was, he could not shake such an astonishing treasure to be able to give birth to a mystic world on this foundation. Su Fong could only be patient and refine it bit by bit. Fortunately, the world fragment would give birth to lotus gems every once in a while. The force of the mystic world from beyond the heavens contained in them was enough for Su Fong to cultivate at his current level. However, after Su Fong absorbed several lotus gems in succession, the Yang Meridian did not appear again. This was because Su Fong's Yang Meridian already contained high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. It had adapted to the essence of the lotus gems, so it naturally did not have the same effect as the first time. Su Fong also took out the lotus gems for Shu Wanjin to cultivate. Putting aside the fact that Shu Wanjin had done him a great favor, Shu Wanjin's elevation and strength also meant that the power unleashed by the Origin Holy Mirror when the two of them worked together would be even more powerful. Naturally, Su Fong would not be stingy with his treasures. Time flew by. 10,000 years. 20,000 years. 50,000 years. The 100,000-year deadline that Su Fong had agreed upon had unknowingly arrived. The Sanctum of Sages. All eyes were on this place. One after another, experts appeared outside the Sanctum of Sages. The Sanctum of Sages was located in the deepest part of the Yuan Tiangong. Those who were able to make it here were the upper echelons of the Yuan Tiangong, and even the weakest of them was a powerful overgod. Thus, the sovereigns of the Yuan Tiangong were all gathered here. In the square outside the Sanctum of Sages, many cultivators were seated cross-legged, patiently waiting for Su Fong to appear. Even the Emperor Realm Masters were looking at him cautiously. A beam of divine light flashed in the air and quickly condensed into the figure of the supreme existence of the imperial people. Then, step by step, he walked into the air and onto the square. Many experts came forward to greet him. The supreme existence of the imperial people said majestically, "The Su Fong hasn't appeared yet?" An Emperor Master replied, "That's right. Sir has come in person. How can we let you wait outside the hall? This Emperor will ask Su Fong to come out and greet him." "It's fine. This Emperor will wait here for Su Fong." QL11, the supreme existence of the imperial people, actually sat down cross-legged in the square, closed his eyes, and waited. His actions won the respect of many powerhouses. As for Su Fong, some people were quite dissatisfied. He actually made the supreme existence of the imperial people wait for him. Wasn't he putting on a little too much airs? Inside the Sanctum of Sages, in a side hall, Su Fong was bidding farewell to his many relatives and friends. Su Fong had already made the necessary arrangements. He even left behind many of the magic treasures and resources that he didn't need. At the same time, Su Fong also left behind a clone to oversee the Sanctum of Sages. Although the strength of this clone was far inferior to the main body, it had the Beast Tamer token and could control the Ancestral Dragon. With the Ancestral Dragon around, who in the universe could touch Su Fong's relatives? His gaze swept across everyone. Seeing the concern and worry in their eyes, Su Fong felt a warmth in his heart. "Fonger, take care." Su Yaoyin's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Xuanqin was also very worried. "Su Fong, be careful. Don't worry. In the universe, there's nothing that can threaten me. I'll be away for a while, and I'll return safely." Su Fong cupped his fists and bowed to his many relatives and friends, then strode out of the hall. When he arrived at the main hall, Shu Wanjin was already waiting there. During these years of cultivation in the Sanctum of Sages, Shu Wanjin had also successfully advanced to upper rank Lord level with the help of the world's essence contained in the Lotus Gem. To enter the celestial worthy mountain, two people had to work together to combine the mirrors. Therefore, Shu Wanjin was also the best candidate to enter the celestial worthy mountain. Shu Wanjin said, "Su Fong, let's go." "Wait a moment." Su Fong looked at the void and said, "Old dragon, come out." A young man with a square face and a golden robe walked out of the formation. It was the ancestral Graygon in his human form. After so many years, the ancestral Graygon had traversed the universe and plundered countless treasures. He had devoured many powerful divine beasts and ferocious beasts, as well as powerful demons and defiance. Although he had yet to recover to his peak state, he was not far from it. Su Fong had learned from the Jade Slip that Di Xuan had given him that only he and Shu Wanjin could enter the celestial worthy mountain because of the Origin Holy Mirror. The magic treasure space, and even the world in Su Fong's body, could not bring anyone into the celestial worthy mountain. Otherwise, they would be punished by the heavens and killed mercilessly. Su Fong had no choice but to leave all his subordinates behind. Even everyone in the Builder Tree's internal space was moved out, including the Ancestral Graygon. The Ancestral Graygon said, "Su Fong, do you really plan to enter the celestial worthy mountain? That place is 100 times more dangerous than the palace that shackles this ancestor. Why do you have to take this risk? Even if the world is destroyed, It has nothing to do with you. With your current strength and my help, you could just take your family and leave this universe. You'll be able to find a place to live in the chaos beyond the heavens. The heavenly Tao is about to be destroyed. Only Senior Sister and I can enter the celestial worthy mountain and find a way to resolve this calamity. It's true that I can leave, but that would also mean that I've completely severed all hope for this universe. Although I know it's dangerous, I have to go. Otherwise, it would go against my conscience and cause my Tao heart to be damaged. Moreover, if I take a detour when encountering danger, how can I cultivate? Although the trip to the celestial worthy mountain this time is dangerous, it's also a type of tempering and test for me. Cultivators have to face difficulties head-on. No matter how difficult and dangerous it is, I'll just kill my way out. Su Fang's flat tone revealed determination and heroism that shocked the ancestral Gregon. The ancestral Gregon shook his head. You humans are all a bunch of idiots. Su Fang continued, Old dragon, I treat you well, don't I? The ancestral Gregon immediately became alert. Kid, what do you want? When I enter the celestial worthy mountain, please take care of my family and friends. You have to ensure their safety. It's a small matter. If anyone dares to touch them, this ancestor will swallow him. If I encounter any mishaps in the celestial worthy mountain, not only do you have to protect their safety, but you also have to find a way to take them out of this universe and settle them down properly. As long as you can do this, I'll return the beast taming tablet to you and your freedom. Is that so? This ancestor can promise you. What other nonsense do you have to say? Say it all at once. I have a small request. Give me 1,000 drops of your blood essence. The ancestral Gregon immediately roared. 1,000 drops. Kid, don't be too greedy. Then I'll have it. Get lost. Don't even think about getting a single strand of hair from this ancestor. You don't have hair to begin with. 200 drops of blood essence should be enough, right? I'm even willing to give you the last of the soul marrow nether milk. Do you still care about this little bit of blood essence? After a round of bargaining, Su Fang finally walked out of the main hall in satisfaction. There were 100 drops of the ancestral Gregon's blood essence sealed in the depths of his body. At the same time, there was also an ancestral Gregon scale. It was not an ordinary scale. It was the sturdiest scale that the ancestral Gregon had shed from its body when it transcended. It had a powerful defensive ability. Moreover, Su Fang had fused with the ancestral Gregon's blood essence and could easily fuse with it. At a critical moment, it could be used to save his life. Su Fang sucked Shu Wanjin into his inner world from his palm. Then, he passed through the formation and walked out of the Saint Palace. Seeing the people in the square, Su Fang was not surprised at all. The supreme existence of the imperial people had a smile on his face. Su Fang, is the Saint ready? The Saint will definitely succeed in this trip to the celestial worthy mountain. Just like the War of the Two Realms, you'll be able to turn the situation around and resolve the catastrophe of the myriad realms. The other venerable sovereigns and peerless sovereigns also spoke up, wishing Su Fang that he could resolve the crisis of the myriad realms on this trip to the celestial worthy mountain. They praised Su Fang as the savior of the myriad realms, as if he was the savior of the myriad realms. Su Fang sneered in his heart. His calm gaze swept across the crowd and finally landed on the supreme existence of the imperial people, Dihao. Lord Dihao seems to have misunderstood something. I'm only going to the celestial worthy mountain to find the cause of the myriad realms, how to stop them, and whether or not I can stop them from happening. I can only say that I'll do my best, but I dare not promise that I'll be able to do it. The supreme existence of the venerable sovereign's expression froze. It had been a long time since someone had spoken to him in such a tone and even called him by his name. Although he was angry in his heart, Dihao still maintained a pleasant expression. I've already made arrangements. Naturally, I won't let you bear such a big responsibility alone. You can't bear it anyway. Su Fang then looked at the crowd and said slowly, Before I leave, I have to give you a few words of advice. Everyone, including those venerable sovereigns, felt an invisible pressure on their faces. They couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. When I entered the prison suppression codex, everyone thought that I had died in there. As a result, all kinds of monsters jumped out and wantonly bullied my family and friends. In the 10 underworlds, when I became a master god, I was once again mistakenly thought that I had died. In the end, some blind people tried to steal my treasures and kill my family and subordinates. I'm sure everyone knows what the result was, so I won't repeat it. Su Fong's words made everyone's heart skip a beat. The first time, when Su Fong returned from the divine prison of law, he went on a killing spree and annihilated the Ji people. He slapped the imperial people hard in the face and embarrassed the supreme existence of the imperial people. The second time, when Su Fong killed Emperor Qi, Emperor Yi, and other venerable sovereigns, he caused the decline of the Qi people, the Yi clan, and other ancient divine clans. Who would dare to forget these things? This time, when I enter the celestial worthy mountain, I may encounter unexpected dangers. Therefore, I have to warn everyone in advance, lest some unpleasant things happen when I return from the celestial worthy mountain. At that time, people will say that I, Su Fong, am cruel and merciless, killing humans. Su Fong's casual voice was like a sharp and cold blade that swept through everyone's hearts, including those venerable sovereigns. They suddenly felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They felt as if their bodies were covered in ice shards and shivered. Dihao smiled indifferently. A fierce aura surged in his heart. Of course, he knew that Su Fong's words were not only a warning to everyone, but also to the imperial people. Let's go to the celestial worthy mountain. Dihao flicked his sleeve and left the square. Su Fong also tore through the air and left. Chapter 2578. At the end of the universe. It was a chaotic space-time. There was no natural energy of heaven and earth, no time, and no space. Everything was in a state of eternity, as if there was no past and no future. Su Fong, Dihao, and many other venerable sovereigns were shackled in this space-time. They had no choice but to use the power of their own worlds to resist the shackles and chill around them. The supreme being of the imperial people, Dihao, said, Su Fong, the exalted celestial mountain, is at the end of the universe. The last time Di Yuan failed to enter the exalted celestial mountain, the exalted celestial mountain went into hiding. Now, only you can enter the exalted celestial mountain with the help of the origin holy mirror. Su Fong, I understand. Su Fong flew out slowly under the divine might of his yin-yang world. A figure flashed out of Su Fong's body along with Su Fong's divine might. It was Xu Wanjin. That woman in black is the cultivator who has mastered the extreme yin side of the origin holy mirror. It looks like she's just an upper-rank lord. Even if she joins forces with Su Fong, can they really enter the exalted celestial mountain and find out the reason for the changes in heaven and earth? Mysterious. I think Su Fong and that woman will have a hard time even entering the exalted celestial mountain. It was Xu Wanjin's first time appearing in front of everyone. The venerable sovereigns immediately whispered among themselves. Many venerable sovereigns did not think highly of Xu Wanjin's cultivation level. Although upper-rank lords were extraordinary, they were nothing in the eyes of these venerable sovereigns. Senior sister, success or failure depends on this. If we combine the origin holy mirror, I wonder if we can make the exalted celestial mountain appear. Su Fong did not have much confidence. If even the origin holy mirror could not make the exalted celestial mountain appear, then all hope would be lost. Su Fong took out the origin yang mirror. Xu Wanjin also took out her origin yin mirror. She said coldly, "There's no need to think about success or failure. We'll just do our best." Bang! Su Fong and Xu Wanjin activated the treasured mirrors with the 9 yang and 9 yin powers at the same time. The two mirrors suddenly combined. Then, the two of them simultaneously struck out a series of dazzling hand seals. The hand seals were extremely complex and contained vast and profound heavenly Tao mysteries. Even the Emperor Realm Masters were shocked when they saw them. Some of the Emperor Realm Masters tried to deduce the hand seals, but the result was either dizziness or vomiting blood. The heavenly Tao contained in that handprint had already surpassed the realm of these Emperor Masters. However, There were also some powerful Emperor realm masters who managed to catch a glimpse of these hand seals. Although they only managed to comprehend bits and pieces of it, it still brought them great benefits, comparable to what they would gain after cultivating in seclusion for millions of years. Their eyes shone brightly. Seeing Su Fong and Shu Wanjin's hand seals, many emperors felt relieved. The hand seals that Su Fong and Shu Wanjin were executing were the ones that they had comprehended from the origin divine mirror during their several dozen millennia of seclusion in the Sanctum of Sages. These hand seals were far more complex and profound than the yin-yang change and the four divisions change. They did not have any offensive or defensive power, and their only function was to unseal a vast spirit array in the origin divine mirror, allowing it to erupt with power that Su Fong could not predict. Su Fong speculated that this spirit array, which had been sealed in the origin divine mirror for a long time, was left behind by a heavenly venerable himself. The purpose of this spirit array was to allow the owner of the origin divine mirror to enter the heavenly venerable mountain. QL11 Boom. A vast and ethereal divine power erupted from the origin divine mirror. It contained a terrifying aura that could split the heavens and earth, shrouding the void in front of it. Rumble. The sound of the heavenly Tao reverberated throughout the world, causing the entire universe tremble. A huge mountain slowly emerged from the chaotic void in front of them. At first, it was a blurry outline, but then it quickly became real. This mountain was majestic and majestic. The rocks, water, and even the grass and trees on the mountain contained the supreme heavenly Tao laws. This mountain was the embodiment of the entire heavenly Tao. In the face of such a huge mountain, all the supreme venerables trembled. A feeling of insignificance and humility arose spontaneously in their hearts. The heavenly venerable mountain. Su Fong fixed his eyes on it. At the foot of the heavenly venerable mountain, there was a roaring ocean. It was the source of the heavenly Tao, the Tao Sea. Su Fong used the divine eye of heaven and could see rivers of nothingness. Some were as vast as great rivers, and some were like streams. There were countless of them, all converging in the Tao Sea. These rivers were the Tao rivers that maintained the operation of the heavenly Tao. At the same time, Su Fong was shocked and desperate to find that every Tao river, and even the entire Tao Sea, was permeated by the evil death qi and evil qi. Even the scenery around the heavenly venerable mountain was covered with a layer of evil death qi. As the changes in heaven and earth intensified, the heavenly venerable mountain was also contaminated by the power of the evil god. The situation became more and more serious. That should be the only way to enter the heavenly venerable mountain. Su Fong saw that there were steps leading from the foot of the mountain to a palace on the ridge of the mountain. There were only 99 steps in total, connecting the outside world to the inside of the heavenly venerable mountain. This path was called the Path to Heaven, and it was the only way to enter the heavenly venerable mountain. Seeing the heavenly venerable mountain appear in the power of the origin sacred mirror, many supreme venerables breathed a long sigh of relief. At least they had a chance to enter the heavenly venerable mountain. Little did they know, in the next moment, 7 balls of blood light suddenly appeared in the sky above the heavenly venerable mountain. In an instant, they turned into viscous blood water and finally turned into 7 huge blood suns hanging high in the sky. The 7 blood suns that caused the changes in heaven and earth had all appeared at this moment. One could clearly see that there was a huge blood-colored tomb hidden inside each of the blood suns. The evil death qi and blood-colored light were released from the blood tombs. They released an astonishing evil death qi, causing the entire heavenly venerable mountain, the Tao Sea, and the Tao River to be covered in a layer of blood-colored halo. It was like a barrier, completely isolating the heavenly venerable mountain from the outside world. How could this be? It's the descent of the evil god. He wants to use the power of the blood sun and evil sun to stop Su Fong and the woman in black from entering the heavenly venerable mountain. It's over. It's completely over now. Even with the origin sacred mirror, it's difficult to enter the heavenly venerable mountain. The myriad worlds are completely finished. Despair appeared in the eyes of all supreme venerables, including the supreme existence of the imperial people, Dihao. Their hearts had completely sunk into an endless abyss. Even if the evil god descends, he won't be able to stop me, Su Fong shouted domineeringly. Together with Shu Wanjin, he once again made a series of astonishing hand seals. The Origin's sacred mirror erupted with terrifying power again. Chi, 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 chi. 9 dazzling red lights suddenly shot out from the Origin sacred mirror, projecting near the 7 blood suns. There were a total of 9 red lights. As soon as these red lights appeared, they immediately emitted an astonishing supreme yang divine aura, dispelling the shackles and coldness in the space-time. Even the blood suns suddenly dimmed, and the blood-red halo that enveloped the heavenly venerable mountain, the Tao Sea, and the Tao River was weakened. The 9 red lights quickly condensed and turned into 9 red divine suns. Not only that, but another divine sun emerged from the void. A total of 10 divine suns appeared above the heavenly venerable mountain. The 10 divine suns emitted destructive light, competing with the 7 blood suns for glory. The spectacle of 10 divine suns floating in the sky, which had surpassed the ancient times, appeared above the heavenly venerable mountain again. Many supreme venerables were shocked. They held their breaths and stared at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. Even Su Fong and Shu Wanjin were shocked. Su Fong transmitted his voice to Shu Wanjin. This is the most powerful power of the Origin sacred mirror. It's extraordinary. It's even more extraordinary than the Xian Bao. I didn't expect the power of the Origin sacred mirror to be far beyond my imagination. Shu Wanjin said, when our yang meridians and yin meridians reach the number of 9, and when the 9 yang meridians and 9 yin meridians reach the greater success stage, we'll be able to activate the ancient mirror to this state. It won't be like now, where the power of the heavenly venerable can only be unsealed once. Su Fong was shocked and full of anticipation. I'm looking forward to this day. Not only on the heavenly venerable mountain, everyone in the world could see the 10 divine suns in the sky, competing with the evil suns for glory. Countless living beings in the world could feel the majestic life force contained in the divine suns, and all of them radiated with astonishing life force. Many cultivators who couldn't break through due to the changes in the world started to spew out tribulation energy and burn tribulation fire under the radiance of the divine suns. What's happening? Weren't the 9 new divine suns shot down by day? Why are they appearing again now? Could it be that the supreme evil god has fallen? Those evil beings, including the demon race who had retreated to the dark world and the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance, all trembled under the supreme radiance of the 10 divine suns, as if doomsday had arrived. At the heavenly venerable mountain, the battle between the divine suns and the blood suns continued. Sizzle, sizzle. Under the radiance of the divine suns, the blood suns released a halo of light that was condensed by the blood suns rapidly burned and evaporated. The blood suns' evil power was also extremely shocking, and it kept melting the power of the divine suns. Whoosh! An extremely yin and extremely cold aura erupted from the Origin sacred mirror again. It was like a surging river of the underworld, and it instantly swept through space and time. The extremely yin aura and the divine sun aura merged, forming a fusion of yin and yang. It transformed the power, melting the blood-colored halo that enveloped the heavenly venerable mountain, path sea, and path river layer by layer until it finally collapsed and turned into nothingness. The 7 blood suns in the sky above the heavenly venerable mountain were also suppressed and dimmed. They kept shrinking until they were only a third of their original size, but they still continued to shrink. Suddenly, a huge phantom of a strange bird suddenly appeared from one of the divine suns, causing the divine sun to be instantly covered in a layer of shadow and its radiance to be covered. This divine sun was the one that hung in the sky, and the phantom of the strange bird was the golden crow that had escaped into the divine sun. Who would have thought that the golden crow would actually act at this critical moment and cover the radiance of the divine sun? The divine power released by the 10 divine suns instantly disappeared, and its divine power was weakened by more than half. The 9 divine suns formed by the origin sacred mirror's power also quickly dimmed. The 7 blood suns that had been suppressed to the extreme quickly recovered, but they clearly looked like they had been greatly damaged. They were only half of their original size, and their deathly aura was also weakened by more than half. Damned golden crow, I, Su Fong, swear that one day I will definitely burn your bones to ashes and refine your soul for eternity. Chapter 2579. The golden crow obviously knew that if Su Fong successfully entered the celestial worthy mountain, he would be able to find the source of the changes in the world and resolve the catastrophe. The awakening of the celestial worthy will, or even the appearance of the celestial worthy master, would be tantamount to doomsday for him. At this time, the golden crow was actually controlling the divine sun and restraining its power. Otherwise, even if it couldn't destroy the 7 blood suns, it would still be able to severely injure them. How could Su Fong not be angry when the golden crow was so deranged? However, no matter how angry he was, there was nothing he could do. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin had to enter the celestial worthy mountain before the power of the origin sacred mirror disappeared. Otherwise, all their previous efforts would be in vain. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin flew towards the celestial worthy mountain. The supreme imperial people, Di Hao, suddenly cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fong, shouting loudly, "The survival of the world is in your hands. I thank you on behalf of the imperial people." Immediately after, Xiao Wanting also cupped his fists and bowed. Entering the celestial worthy mountain this time is dangerous and unpredictable. This emperor thanks the 2 of you for risking your lives. The other emperor masters, regardless of their thoughts towards Su Fong, also cupped their fists and bowed one after another. I, Su Fong, will enter the celestial worthy mountain not for a single person, nor for a single force, but for the people of the world. I hope that everyone will also think of the common people and stop scheming and fighting for power, so that we can resolve the catastrophe together. Su Fong made a clanging sound, and then went straight to the celestial worthy mountain with Shu Wanjin. A kind of unwavering momentum suddenly arose spontaneously. Although Su Fong's words were true, it was tantamount to slapping many people in the face. A very obscure coldness flashed in the eyes of the supreme imperial people, and the expressions of some emperor masters were not very good. As soon as Su Fong and Shu Wanjin stepped onto the first step of the path to heaven, they immediately felt the scene in front of them change drastically. In the sky, there was a vast galaxy that released an astonishing pressure. Not only did it suppress the divine body, but even the primordial spirit was greatly suppressed. Although Su Fong and Shu Wanjin possessed the primordial origin, sacred mirror, they still had to undergo the test to enter the exalted celestial mountain. The test on the path to the heavens was to withstand the terrifying pressure from the stars, climb to the mountain ridge, and enter the palace. Only then could one truly enter the exalted celestial mountain. The pressure on the first step is equivalent to the power of a galaxy. It's a test even to regular overgods. The pressure in the later part of the journey will definitely be even greater. No wonder Di Yuan failed back then. However, to senior sister and I, this little bit of pressure is nothing at all. Su Fong smiled confidently. Shu Wanjin's expression was also calm, without any pressure. Just as the 2 of them were about to take the second step, a golden rainbow suddenly broke through the void outside the celestial worthy mountain. It drew a golden arc in the air and landed on the first step. The golden light dissipated, revealing Goddess Luo's figure. Su Fongdao was shocked. "Heavenly Lady, what are you doing here? Entering the exalted celestial mountain is my mission in this universe. If I miss this opportunity, I won't have another chance to enter the exalted celestial mountain in the future. Naturally, I'm here," Goddess Luo said indifferently. She looked at Su Fong as if he was a stranger. Su Fong said anxiously. The inside of the exalted celestial mountain is extremely dangerous. What are you going in for? I'm here. How can I let you take the risk? Goddess Luo said coldly. Su Fong, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. You are you, and I am me. Don't meddle in my affairs. Her cold tone made Su Fong's heart ache inexplicably. Shu Wanjin transmitted her voice to Su Fong. Su Fong, you don't seem to have good luck with women. It wasn't easy for you to find a Dao companion, but now you've been heartlessly abandoned. Only the Xuanxin won't leave you. Su Fong replied with a bitter smile. Senior sister, can you not join the fun at this time? At this moment, Goddess Luo put away the piercing sun-golden rainbow and strode up the second step. Su Fong sighed helplessly. He knew he couldn't dissuade Goddess Luo, so he could only take one step at a time. Su Fong stepped onto the second step, and a majestic pressure suddenly descended. The galaxy in the sky suddenly split into two, and the pressure and impact on his divine body and primordial spirit also multiplied. However, this pressure was still nothing to Su Fong, Shu Wanjin, and Goddess Luo. The three of them strode towards the end of the path to heaven. It seems that Su Fong can easily enter the inside of the exalted celestial mountain. Many Emperor Realm Masters were watching the exalted celestial mountain from afar. Xiao Wanting stroked his beard and nodded. A middle-aged Emperor Realm Master with a strange purple face began to pour cold water on them. Back then, when Di Yuan walked the path to heaven, he was also as fast as the wind at the beginning. In the end, he was only 2 steps away from success. It's too early to be happy now. Su Fong had risen by stepping on the heads of countless masters and had offended countless masters. In addition to Emperor Realm Masters like Sang Xiu, Wei Dao, and the Zhu clan's emperors, there was also Xiao Wanting, who had a good relationship with Su Fong. Now that Su Fong had entered the exalted celestial mountain, the Emperor Realm Masters who hated Su Fong felt very complicated. On one hand, they were worried that Su Fong would fail and fall into eternal damnation, but on the other hand, they were hoping that Su Fong would fail and die in the exalted celestial mountain. The purple-faced, middle-aged Emperor Realm Master who poured cold water on them just now was also from the ancient god world Ji clan. Although they didn't have any direct conflict with Su Fong, the Ji clan and the Qi people had been connected by marriage since ancient times and had a deep relationship. At this time, the Ji clan's Emperor Realm Master didn't like Su Fong, so it was normal for him to mock him. Who knew on the path to heaven, 3 figures were almost side by side and didn't stop along the way. In less than 2 hours, they had climbed the 99th step and arrived at the ridge of the exalted celestial mountain. All the Emperor Realm Masters breathed a long sigh of relief. Only Dao Emperor laughed loudly. Extraordinary, truly extraordinary. Not only Su Fong, but those 2 girls are also extraordinary. They managed to pass through the path to heaven so easily. The purple-faced, middle-aged man snorted coldly. They have only just entered the exalted celestial mountain. The real danger has only just begun. Even before the world changed, very few geniuses who entered the exalted celestial mountain could pass the test, and many even lost their lives in the test. Now that the world has changed one after another, we don't know what has happened inside the exalted celestial mountain. Su Fong and the other 2 have entered, so I'm afraid that things are not looking good for them. As soon as he finished speaking, a bolt of lightning flashed in front of him and then exploded, sending him flying. Although he wasn't injured, his robe, which was comparable to a divine tool of creation, had holes in it. Black smoke was rising from it, making him look battered and exhausted. The Ji clan Emperor Realm Master was shocked and angry. Emperor Xiao, why did you attack this emperor? Xiao Wanting said coldly. You look like you can't wait for Su Fong to die in the exalted celestial mountain, and then you'll be happy when the myriad worlds are destroyed. This emperor can't help but suspect that you have gone against the Dao and become a spy of the Dao Defiant Alliance. Do you want this emperor to take you to the punishment hall and interrogate you carefully? The Ji clan emperor was speechless. Su Fong, Shu Wanjin, and Goddess Luo stepped onto the 99th step almost at the same time and arrived at the square in front of the palace on the ridge. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin looked calm, but Goddess Luo's aura was a little chaotic. Her strength was obviously inferior to the other two. Whoosh! The origin divine mirror flew from the sky and split into two. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin put away. The 9 divine suns above the exalted celestial mountain began to dissipate rapidly, and the exalted celestial mountain also began to turn into nothingness. The 3 of them quickly entered the palace. Rumble! Heaven and earth shook. The exalted celestial mountain, the path sea, and the path river below disappeared into nothingness. The blood sun and divine suns in the sky also disappeared. The emperors didn't leave. They saw Di Hao take out an ancient bronze mirror, which exuded an ancient and vicissitude aura. It was a divine tool of creation. The sky observation mirror, the emperors recognized the magic treasure in Di Hao's hand. As it turned out, this divine creation artifact called the sky observation mirror was a supreme treasure of the monarch clan. Its ability was extremely strange. After it was activated, not only could it shackle powerful enemies, it could also borrow the power of the sky observation mirror to see every corner of the universe. Moreover, it could even capture the aura of destiny. Di Hao activated the sky observation mirror. 7-colored light surged on the surface of the mirror. After a while, it turned into a clear image. In the image, there was a surging river in the middle. The river seemed to be endless, and the river water was white. White fog floated on the surface of the river, and there was a strong aura of death and hostility. Above the river, a bright full moon hung high, emitting cold and bright moonlight that enveloped the entire space-time. On one side of the river, Su Fong, Shu Wanjin, and Goddess Luo stood in the air. The sky observation mirror can see through the barrier of the exalted celestial mountain and see what's inside. The Emperor Realm Masters cried out in alarm. Di Hao nodded and said, "The sky observation mirror uses Su Fong's destiny aura as its source. That's why I can see through the barrier of the exalted celestial mountain and see what's around Su Fong. If Su Fong hadn't entered the exalted celestial mountain, she wouldn't have been able to see anything inside." Xiao Wanning asked, "Is this space-time a test for the geniuses who enter the exalted celestial mountain?" "That's right. According to the ancient records of my race, the exalted celestial mountain used to select geniuses who had to go through many tests and cross many space-time rivers. In the space-time Su Fong and the others are in, the river is also a path river that contains one of the heavenly way's myriad laws, the moon erosion power. With Su Fong's strength, it shouldn't be difficult for them to cross the path river and pass the test. However, the path river has been tainted by the hostility of death, so I'm afraid there will be some changes." The supreme existence of the imperial people said slowly, with a solemn look in his eyes. Many emperors were looking forward to seeing what would happen. There were also emperors who secretly transmitted the scene in the sky observation mirror to Yuan Tiangong. Then, the Yuan Tiangong powerhouses used their divine powers or magic treasures to spread the scene across the myriad worlds. QL11 at this moment, the fate of the myriad worlds was at stake, so Di Hao didn't stop anything. In the Yuan Tiangong, the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, and the other god realms, Su Fong's every move in the exalted celestial mountain was clearly displayed on a huge light screen by the powerhouses using their divine powers. Su Fong has created countless miracles. In the war of the two realms, he was able to turn the tide and reverse the situation with his own strength. This time will be no exception. Su Fong, this time it's all up to you. As long as the heavenly way exists, Su Fong will definitely succeed. Chapter 2580. Su Fong looked at the Dao River in front of him and nodded. "It seems that the information Di Xuan gave me about the inside of the celestial worthy mountain is still useful. The imperial people were the representatives of the celestial worthy mountain in the myriad of worlds. Naturally, they knew many secrets that outsiders did not know. The spacetime Su Fong was in was also described in the information Di Xuan gave him. Every era, the celestial worthy mountain would select geniuses from the myriad of worlds. These geniuses who were selected had to go through many tests. The tests they had to go through were the Dao Rivers. The celestial worthy mountain was the source of the heavenly Tao. There were thousands of great Taos and countless Tao rivers. The great Taos were divided into primary and secondary streams. Naturally, the Tao rivers were also divided into main streams and tributaries. The Tao rivers that were used to test geniuses contained relatively low-level tributaries of the great Taos. They were just right for those geniuses. At the same time, for those geniuses who entered the celestial worthy mountain, crossing the space-time of the Tao rivers was not only a test, but also a good fortune. The Tao rivers contained the supreme, true meaning of the great Tao. After crossing the Tao rivers, one would be tempered. After passing the test, one would be cleansed by the Tao rivers and receive the true meaning of the great Tao. Thus, one's strength would rapidly increase. It's not difficult to pass these tests. Those so-called good fortunes are also not of much use to me. My goal is to find the reason for the changes in the heavens and earth. Where do I start? Do I have to cross all the Tao rivers and find the source of the thousands of great Taos? Su Fong frowned and was at his wit's end. Buzz. While he was thinking, the Tao runes of the life, shrinking technique in the depths of his mind suddenly flashed. There was an ethereal voice that came from the deepest part of the space-time. That mysterious voice seemed to be summoning Su Fong, causing Su Fong's fate to resonate with it. He could not help but have a strong desire to go to the deepest part of the space-time. If it were not for the power of the life, shrinking technique, protecting Su Fong's primordial spirit and consciousness, Su Fong would have lost himself and directly went there without caring about anything else. Qi. The mysterious Taoist scriptures of the life, shortening technique were burning in his divine aperture, burning away the power that was controlling his primordial spirit and Taoist heart brought by that mysterious voice. Finally, Su Fong returned to normal. Just as Su Fong was affected by the illusory summoning sound, Shu Wanjin was similarly summoned. Shu Wanjin also cultivated the Tianji life, shrinking technique, and it was even more profound than Su Fong's. Naturally, she wouldn't be controlled by the voice that controlled her Tao heart and will. However, Goddess Luo was not summoned by the voice. She looked normal. Who is it? Who dares to summon me and my senior sister? Su Fong used his perfect transcendent vision and the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, to project his sensing power in an attempt to find the source of the summoning sound. However, this was the interior of the exalted celestial mountain. So how astonishing were the shackles. Even with Su Fong's astounding consummate ability that transcended the heavens and earth, coupled with the heavenly secret life, shrinking technique, it was still difficult for his sensing power to penetrate the layers of shackles and obstruct the space-time barrier. Shu Wanjin said in a low voice, "There is no need to sense it. Just pass through the Tao River and enter the source of the great Tao. Perhaps there, we will be able to find the truth of the anomaly." Su Fong nodded and said, "Senior sister is right. That summoning sound is also coming from there. The one who is summoning us is either the heavenly venerate's will or that evil god has descended. No matter who it is, as long as we can find one of them, we will be able to find the truth of the anomaly." That mysterious summoning sound was trying to control the two of them. It was obvious that it was up to no good. The source of the voice was definitely the most dangerous place in the exalted celestial mountain. Su Fong and Shu Wanjin naturally knew this. However, they were already prepared to enter the exalted celestial mountain. Why would they be afraid of danger? Let's go. Su Fong used the power of the yin-yang world to form a protective divine aura and flew across the sky. Shu Wanjin followed closely behind. It was unknown what Goddess Luo's objective was in entering the exalted celestial mountain. She also followed closely behind Su Fong and Shu Wanjin. She didn't act alone. Swoosh! Just as Su Fong, Shu Wanjin, and Goddess Luo stepped onto the Tao River, the full moon above the Tao River suddenly lit up. The moonlight it emitted also became much brighter and purer. The ice-cold power of the heavenly Tao formed an astonishing shackle that slowed down the trio's speed. Furthermore, The moonlight constantly suppressed the protective divine aura of the trio, trying to freeze them to death. Immediately following that, the full moon suddenly dimmed. It was as if an invisible force was constantly nibbling away at it. A lunar eclipse phenomenon appeared. The lunar eclipse phenomenon released a heavenly Tao divine aura that could make all things in the world become incomplete and wither. It instantly enveloped the entire space-time. Su Fong felt his protective divine aura constantly being eroded. The vitality, blood, essence, spirit, and energy in his body were also flowing out uncontrollably. It's extremely similar to the G people's lunar eclipse technique. However, it's tens of thousands of times stronger. Furthermore, the heavenly Tao power also contains an astonishing tribulation power and an evil power that could devour vitality. This should be due to the influence of the evil god's descent. According to the jade slip that Dixuan gave me, before the full moon is completely devoured, we must pass through the Tao River space-time. Otherwise, we will be directly sent out of the exalted celestial mountain. This also means that we have failed to enter the exalted celestial mountain this time. Some information appeared in Su Fong's mind. He immediately unleashed his divine aura and unleashed his cultivation to increase his speed. Shu Wanjin and Goddess Luo followed closely behind Su Fong. In the beginning, Goddess Luo could still keep up. However, after about 2 hours, she gradually lost her strength. Shu Wanjin raised her eyebrows and transmitted her essence spirit voice to Su Fong. "You stupid brat. No wonder you were heartlessly abandoned by that woman. Senior sister is also proficient in this. Senior sister is also a woman. In front of women, you must be bold, careful, and shameless." Shameless, Su Fong smiled bitterly and helplessly. He could only return and unleash the divine aura of the yin-yang world to envelop Goddess Luo. Goddess Luo's pressure was instantly reduced by half by Su Fong. She became much more relaxed. However, she still looked cold and ungrateful. She said, "You don't have to do this. I won't thank you for anything." Su Fong smiled shamelessly. The Tao River looked boundless. However, as the three of them continued to fly, the other side of the Tao River appeared in the range of Su Fong's great perfection realm vision. "It's useless to stay here any longer. Let's leave quickly." Looking up at the waning moon that was rapidly being devoured, Su Fong unleashed his strength and increased his speed. He broke through the shackles. His speed was so fast that it was as if he was in the natural world. He didn't seem to be shackled much. When they reached the other side of the Tao River, the full moon in the sky turned into a waning moon. Just like that, the Tao River, which was considered a severe test for those geniuses in the past, was crossed by Su Fong and the other two like they were taking a stroll in the park. Bright moonlight, filled with an auspicious aura, descended from the void and enveloped the three of them. Don't defend. This is the opportunity obtained from passing the test. Su Fong reminded Shu Wanjin and Goddess Luo. He retracted his protective divine aura and allowed the auspicious aura to seep into his divine body, cleansing his blood, meridians, and flesh. At the same time, his primordial spirit also seemed to be baptized. He also gained some understanding of the great Tao. However, these opportunities were not of much use to Su Fong. It was better than nothing. Next, Su Fong, Goddess Luo, and Shu Wanjin endured many tests and crossed the Tao River. QL11 The great Taos contained in the Tao River were different, so the contents of the tests were also different. However, there was one thing in common. These tributaries of the Tao River did not pose much of an obstacle to Su Fong and the other two. They passed through them easily. Outside the celestial worthy mountain, the venerable sovereigns were shocked when they saw them pass through the tests so easily. Could it be that there was no danger inside the celestial worthy mountain? This was completely different from what they had imagined. The venerable sovereign from the Ji clan said sourly, "If that's the case, Di Yuan could have easily crossed the Tao River if he had passed the test of the path to heaven. He might have already found the truth of the anomaly and resolved the crisis." Many other venerable sovereigns had the same idea. The supreme existence of the imperial people snorted coldly. It's not that the test is not difficult enough, nor is it not dangerous enough. It's just that the three of them are too strong. With Yuan's strength at that time, he would have either been kicked out of the celestial worthy mountain or died. The venerable sovereigns fell silent. About 10 years later, Su Fong, goddess Luo, and Shu Wanjin encountered a real challenge. Su Fong headed towards the depths of the summoning sound. He stepped into a layer of divine light, and his body seemed to have lost its center of gravity. After a few breaths of weightlessness, a vast and boundless world of thunder appeared in front of him. The entire space-time was filled with the terrifying power of the heavenly way of thunder. It was not an ordinary power of thunder, but the divine thunder of the deity's tribulation. The astonishing power of thunder gathered together, and the thunder rumbled. It was as if the heavenly way was angry. Lightning surged, and the power of thunder condensed into matter. It rippled like water and formed a vast pool of thunder. The Great Tao of Thunder is one of the most important Great Taos of the heavenly way. It seems that we have walked out of the range of the tributary Tao River and entered the main stream of the Tao River. Su Fong's spirit was immediately lifted. Shu Wanjin frowned and said, "This pool of thunder is not to be underestimated. Don't be careless." Su Fong nodded and said, "I understand. You all have to be careful too. I'll be in front. Follow me closely. Goddess, I may not have time to protect you later. You have to be careful." Goddess Luo said coldly, "I have the ability to protect myself. You don't have to worry about me." Su Fong smiled nonchalantly. Shu Wanjin had previously taught him to be thick-skinned in front of women. Su Fong clearly understood the essence of this. The power of the yin-yang world surged out of Su Fong's divine body. It turned into a 100-foot wide world that enveloped the three of them. Then, Su Fong carefully moved toward the pool of thunder. Rumble! Thunder flashed out of the pool of thunder and bombarded Su Fong's world defense. Su Fong's world kept trembling. It kept shattering and then quickly reformed. Su Fong, Shu Wanjin, and Goddess Luo were enveloped by lightning along with their world. It was a shocking sight. After advancing 1/3 of the pool of thunder, Su Fong had to maintain his world defense at all times. He had to withstand the bombardment of countless thunder and lightning. Naturally, his energy consumption was astonishing. He sucked a lotus gem into the heaven and earth Tao Palace, allowing the world tree and yang meridian to absorb energy from beyond the heavens and quickly recover the power of the yin-yang world. When they were halfway there, boom, golden lightning surged from the pool of thunder in front of them. The terrifying aura of tribulation lightning swept over, causing large areas of Su Fong's world to shatter. This was only the beginning. Whoosh! The pool water in the pool of thunder rippled. A 100-foot tall golden giant jumped out of the pool. Not only was this golden giant's size shocking, but golden lightning kept flowing around his body. Thunder surged in his eyes, exuding a terrifying aura of heaven's punishment. He held a huge black axe in his hand and looked majestic. Be careful. This is the heaven's punishment war god formed by the great Tao of lightning. It will only appear when a true god becomes a supreme god. Chapter 25:81. A divine punishment war god has appeared. The previous geniuses who entered the celestial worthy mountain didn't have this lightning pool as a test. Obviously, Su Fong has entered the mainstream of the Path River, which is far beyond the scope of the test for those geniuses. Su Fong is in danger now. Danger? Not really. Su Fong can probably even kill a peerless master at the peak of the Emperor Realm, let alone these divine punishment war gods, who are just some ordinary Emperor Realm incarnations of the heavenly way. But Su Fong didn't enter the celestial worthy mountain to train, but to find the truth of the changes in the world. If he consumes too much here, I'm afraid he won't be able to continue. Outside the celestial worthy mountain, the Emperor Realm Masters saw the divine punishment war god in the lightning pool through the sky observation mirror. Their eyes were filled with fear. These Emperor Realm Masters had been tested by the divine punishment war god when they were promoted to the supreme Emperor Realm and were baptized by the heavenly way's chaotic divine tribulation. Naturally, They knew how terrifying the divine punishment war god was. That was not an ordinary heavenly tribulation, but the manifestation of the supreme heavenly ways thunder punishment. Most peak god realm masters died when they tried to break through to the supreme emperor realm because of the divine punishment war god. Moreover, the divine punishment war god that Su Fong was facing now was different. If it was in the natural world, Su Fong could easily kill a divine punishment war god with his strength to kill a celestial master. However, he was deep in a lightning pool, which was the source of the heavenly ways thunder power. The divine punishment war god was far more powerful than in the natural world, and no one knew how many divine punishment war gods would appear. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths. Of course, most people were not worried about Su Fong, but the consequences of his death. Once he died in the lightning pool, it would mean that the myriad worlds had lost all hope. Those in the Yuan Tiangong and the divine realms outside the Yuan Tiangong were shocked to see the scene in the lightning pool through various magical powers and magic treasures. Immediately, they began to worry about Su Fong. In the main hall, Su Yaodian, Xuanxin, and the others stared intently at a huge light screen floating in the center of the hall. The scene in the lightning pool inside the celestial worthy mountain was constantly changing on the light screen. It turned out that Emperor Sangxiu had used a supreme divine ability to transmit the scene in the same hall. Seeing the terrifying heavenly punishment war god appear, that shocking heavenly punishment's divine might seem to be able to pass through the barrier of light, causing everyone to tremble. At the same time, they began to worry for Su Fong. How? If only Su Yaodian, Xuanxin, and a few of Su Fong's closest relatives knew about the dragon Daozu's identity. Hearing Ancestral Gragon's words, Xuanxin immediately felt relieved. What a joke. Ancestral Gragon was a terrifying existence. His eyesight was naturally extraordinary. If he said that Su Fong was fine, then he was definitely fine. Ancestral Gragon glanced at Xuanxin and said, Su Fong brought two women into the celestial worthy mountain. Their relationship seems to be extraordinary. Aren't you worried? Xuanxin smiled sweetly. Senior, you must be joking. Su Fong is a peerless genius in the myriad worlds. It's normal for him to have a few women by his side. There are people taking care of Su Fong for me, and I have to thank them. What's there to be worried about? Ancestral Gragon rolled his eyes. That brat is nothing good. Why are you all so protective of him? How boring. In the thunder pool, the war god of divine punishment let out a thunderous roar and strode out. He raised the battle axe in his hand, and a golden thunderbolt rolled up like the Milky Way. With the power of divine punishment that could destroy the world, he ruthlessly chopped down on Su Fong's world. The thunder energy of the entire thunder pool was also activated, sweeping towards Su Fong. Thunder roared and lightning flashed. The power of the attack was incomparably shocking. Chi, from Su Fong's world, a light shadow soared into the sky and turned into a towering tree. Its thick branches and dense leaves released divine power, making Su Fong's world even more stable. Break! The attack of the war god of divine punishment ruthlessly chopped down on Su Fong's world, creating a huge crack in the world's defense. The tree of divine punishment was also cut down. However, the world was still as stable as before after a violent tremor. You're just an ordinary war god of divine punishment. You're not allowed to be arrogant in front of Su Fong. Su Fong shouted domineeringly. He stepped out of the world, stepped into the air, and rushed toward the war god of divine punishment. As he ran, golden electric currents flashed on his body, and his divine body grew crazily. After 3 steps, he turned into a golden giant that was hundreds of feet tall. The giant that Su Fong transformed into after using the giant transformation Vajra looked very similar to the war god of divine punishment, but the divine power that erupted from it was completely different. Boom! 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 Su Fong used the mighty palm to fight with the war god of divine punishment. The impact of the momentum set off caused the entire thunder pool to roll up monstrous thunderbolts. The space where the thunder pool was located shook and shattered. The collision was really amazing. Only a powerful martial emperor like Shao Wanning could cause such a scene in a life-and-death battle. After more than a dozen collisions, the body of the war god of divine punishment, which was formed by the great wave of thunder, shattered and turned into remnant thunderbolts that splashed in all directions. Su Fong also quickly returned to normal from the giant transformation state. However, he did not return to the world created by the power of the yin-yang world. Instead, he used his divine power to sweep up the golden thunderbolts formed after the war god of divine punishment was shattered and flew toward him. Su Fong opened up his divine power and divine body defense and reached out to grab the golden thunderbolts. Crack! As soon as the golden thunderbolts landed in his hand, they immediately exploded with astonishing lightning power, blasting Su Fong's right hand into a bloody mess. The lightning power quickly spread to other parts of his body, seeping into his flesh and blood. Su Fong was enveloped by the golden thunderbolts, and it was a shocking sight. What is Su Fong doing? Goddess Luo was shocked, and her eyes were filled with worry. Don't worry. Su Fong is using the power of the thunder calamity to refine his divine body. He has a perfect physical body, so the remnant thunder calamity can't hurt him at all, Shu Wanjin explained. Then she stared at Goddess Luo. Since you were so worried about him, why did you suddenly leave him? Goddess Luo's eyes dimmed, but she didn't say anything. Although the heavenly punishment war god had been killed, the divine power of the heavenly punishment was still extremely shocking. In an instant, it enveloped Su Fong. This scene was witnessed by countless people through various means, and it instantly caused a commotion. Is Su Fong crazy? He actually used his physical body to withstand the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity. He is actually using the power of the thunder calamity to refine his physical body. Crazy, this is too crazy. Su Fong entered the celestial worthy mountain with a heavy responsibility on his shoulders. Now, he is acting like a child's play, trying to please the crowd. Su Fong's actions caused some people to be shocked, some people to be worried, and some people to mock and ridicule him. In fact, Su Fong attracted the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity not just to refine his divine body. His main goal was to use the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity to attack the world fragment that came from beyond the heavens. The world fragment obtained from the Palace of Advent was simply too sturdy. It wasn't something that the gods of this universe could fuse with. Su Fong had been in seclusion in the Sanctum of Sages for tens of thousands of years. He had tried countless times to fuse with it, but that cauldron-like world fragment didn't budge at all. However, Su Fong had never given up. This time, he could use the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity to attack the world fragment. The power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity was the most violent and ferocious power in this universe. If the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity couldn't even shake the world fragment, Su Fong really didn't know what power in this universe could shake it. The power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity was extremely violent and violent. It tore apart Su Fong's bones, meridians, and surged into his body. Su Fong drove the power of yin and yang to control and fuse with the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity. After the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity was infused with his blood essence, energy, and aura, he guided it into the palace of heaven and earth to strike the world fragment. The cauldron-like world fragment finally began to tremble. A buzzing sound came from the cauldron, and a green Xianguang emerged from the cauldron, absorbing a small portion of the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity. It really works. This sight left Su Fong overjoyed. The fact that the world fragment had absorbed the power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity infused with Su Fong's aura meant that it had fused with Su Fong's blood essence and energy. In other words, it had indirectly fused with the world fragment. Looking at his body from the inside out, it was clear that the damage caused by the heavenly punishment lightning calamity wasn't light. However, with Su Fong's recovery ability, it wasn't a problem at all. Su Fong wasn't too satisfied with the results this time. The power of the heavenly punishment lightning calamity is too weak. At this rate, it won't be able to fuse with the world fragment in a short time. It needs a stronger and fiercer heavenly punishment lightning calamity. Roar! A deafening roar came from the thunder pool. Immediately after, the thunder pool separated again, and a purple-gold divine dragon rose from the thunder pool. It turned out to be a thunder dragon manifested from the great way of thunder. It was much more terrifying than the heavenly punishment war god that had appeared before. Good, you've come at the right time. Su Fong wasn't surprised. Instead, he was overjoyed. Burning with fighting spirit, he displayed all kinds of divine powers and engaged in an earth-shattering battle with the thunder dragon. The strength that Su Fong displayed at this time was far beyond that of an ordinary sovereign. Even a powerful sovereign like Xiao Wanning couldn't compare with him. Seeing this scene, all the sovereign masters outside the celestial worthy mountain were shocked. They felt that this scene was too unreal. Fear and shock flashed in the eyes of the supreme imperial people. Su Fong's position in his heart quickly rose to the level where he was on an equal footing with him. This filled his heart with fear, and some of his thoughts of targeting Su Fong began to waver. What they didn't know was that the strength that Su Fong displayed at this time was far from his strongest strength. The battle between Su Fong and the Thunder Dragon lasted for more than 6 hours. It stirred up the entire thunder pool, and chaotic and violent thunder calamity energy was everywhere. Su Fong shattered the Thunder Dragon again and again, and the Thunder Dragon reconstructed itself with the help of the Thunder Pool's power.